Welcome back, everybody, to the October Country Comics Podcast. This is Devon.
Will.
Caleb.
Reagan McNeil.
Caleb with his very own mic this time.
Oh, yeah, he's not shit.
Did you say Ringing McNeil or Ring in McNeil?
Reagan McNeil.
Oh, Reagan.
Reagan.
It sounded like you said Ringing.
Reagan McNeil. I like that better.
I don't know. Who?
It's Ally McBeal's cousin.
That would have been terrible. It is the girl from The Exorcist, Linda Blair's character.
Oh, okay.
I figured I'd go with that since, we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Oh, I guess
okay.
so.
At some point. But first,
But
I
first,
guess Will wants to take away the show with his...
you want me to steal it from you right now?
Yeah, he's going to steal the show for a little bit to talk about his review of the one, the only Star Trek Picard miniseries.
Indeed.
wait, is it actually still considered a mini?
I mean, it's only 10 episodes.
That's a full season.
Yeah, it's just a season of... It's just, like, that's regular streaming service
Yeah.
length. You know, Discovery was only 14 episodes.
I thought
Excuse
you were
me.
gonna say 14 seasons.
14
I
seasons
was like,
long.
God, it's been forever. What
thought
are they
they
pushing
actually-
about a day?
I thought they actually billed it as a miniseries, though.
As far as I know, it's supposed to be like a regular coming show. I saw an article that I don't believe because it was just a headline that was like, Patrick Stewart doesn't want to come back for season 2, probably because everyone told him that it sucked.
No, he will, for the fact that Whoopi Goldberg is reprising her role as...
That's true.
What's the character? I always used to call her Gaia as a kid.
Guinan.
Guinan. Okay.
Guinan.
And then also for years, I thought that Guinan was also, Captain Planet's Gaia. Because I used to actually like to do, shared universes of everything as a child.
I thought she went to college to be a gynecologist.
Oh.
But then,
She never made it past it, don't worry. We went here.
She
She's
never
doing
made
well.
it past the, being the bartender to put herself through school phase.
Oh,
I do get that.
that's sad.
I mean, hey. But,
Right? Wasn't that her whole deal? Wasn't she like the bartender on Next Generation?
No, she was the cook.
no,
Oh,
she was the bartender.
She was the bartender.
Wasn't
Yeah,
she a
she was the
cook, though?
bartender. No.
Oh, I assumed she's...
No, there you go. Okay,
No,
see
she was
that
the bartender,
Joke, that
yeah.
joke did make sense. I was
No, it
like,
made sense for me.
Yeah, okay, good.
It just wasn't
I got it.
funny.
Wow. All right, we're firing the shots tonight.
Ow,
On
that
this
hurts.
anger is just building and building and building.
So, Will, how great is Star Trek Picard?
Let me tell you, it is fantastic. It is a show where Patrick Stewart stops the apocalypse of the universe.
Hold on, spoilers, right?
Which is, yes, this is spoilers for the show if you haven't seen it. It's been out for a while. Patrick Stewart needs to stop an ancient Romulan prophecy from happening again, whereas to when we become so advanced, I'll take your question in just a moment, with synth life, that giant robot squids will come through a portal and kill everybody.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I
You-
had my
you-
I had
you
my
had your
hands
hand
up.
up. You did have your hand
Steven,
So
questions?
Does Cisco come back as Space Jesus? And
no.
Follow up: are you high when you felt the need to just blurt all of this out? Because
No.
that would make more sense than everything you've just explained.
Exactly. No, I'm not. I wish I was watching the show.
Okay.
At the point of, there was a point where I was watching it and I finally decided to enjoy it for what it was. Really
Garbage?
bad. Like, so bad that it was good. Like, it was so funny, and the
Okay.
dialogue is so
Alright.
cringe. It's so cringe, and I hate it.
So, at what point did the show itself realize it was ripping off Mass Effect?
I have been told this before, that the entire plot is a Mass Effect ripoff, because I've explained it to someone who I know has played that Mass Effect game, and yes, it is the entire plot is just a Mass Effect ripoff, which is a video game for those of you that don't
I
know.
was gonna say I knew it was a video game.
Caleb,
I
you played Mass Effect.
No, I
right?
never did.
You never played Mass
Nope, they
Effect?
told me to, and I said no.
And
Well, fine.
and
No,
they
but I've heard great
establish
things. I've heard
that this show is everything but Star Trek in and of itself, that it incorporates elements from Star Wars, Blade Runner, Firefly. Like, you can see all that stuff in there, except for, like, Star Trek, because Starfleet sucks now, and they're all a bunch of assholes.
I have to tell you, I was not about that message. I'm just
them
throwing that.
sucking now.
Like you want to acknowledge Starfleet isn't. It's got its shady problems, sure.
Section 31, which, by the way, we're not opposed to doing another Secret Service, because this isn't Starfleet, though. Are you familiar with the fact that the Romulans have the Secret Service? It's
Yes.
like the Tal Shiar.
Yes.
Well, as it turns out, there's an even secret Romulan organization called the Zhat Vash, which is an
Bless you.
entirely female-led organization that is formed to stop this
What species
synthezoid
was this
apocalypse.
again?
This is Romulan. Because the Romulans have the Tal Shiar, which is the secret organization, and then the Tal Shiar has an even secret organization called the Zhat Vash, which is what the show retcons in. And they all need to stop the apocalypse.
Do you know what I think the best thing that came out of this show was? And I have not seen it, so just throwing that out there. The fact that it's just proof that, once again, Jerry Ryan does not age.
That's true.
That woman looks just as good, if not better, than she did on Voyager.
Jerry Ryan. Oh, I gotta tell you,
This man
I'm
just got
gonna get
heated up.
very spastastic about this because I'm very passionate about this and what they did. So you watched all of Voyager, correct?
Yeah.
So you're familiar,
It's been literally years.
right?
Yes.
Do you remember the character Icheb?
Yes. That's
Yes.
friggin'
For those
dumb.
of you that don't know, Icheb was a little Borg boy. There were a bunch of kids that were on a Borg cube. They rescued him. They took him away from the collective, and Seven of Nine was like their den mother. They would show up every so often in the season. They like lived with her in the cargo bay.
In all
It was
honesty,
cute.
especially Ejeb, right? That's his name.
Icheb, yeah.
He was more just to humanize Seven. Like, all these children were just meant to be tools to, like, they were just plot devices. They were watered down characters. They were useless, other than Seven of Nine, especially, what the hell's his name again?
Icheb.
All he was there for was to question her on
Yeah.
any decision she made.
And Icheb was really the only important one
Yeah.
because the other three were
Three?
too young. Yeah, it was a girl and then two twins.
Yeah.
And they they didn't really serve any story purposes
Don't
except
they
for
end up,
Icheb.
like, going on a planet or something? Like, they find their home planet and they just dump them there?
They dump all of the kids except for Icheb. That's
Oh,
right.
he does
That's
come
why
back.
Icheb's the only one that
Okay.
Icheb's the only one that stays. But
Is it the
one of
same
the
actor?
episodes. No, it's not. Because as it turns
Ew.
out, that actor
He's
got in a
dead.
lot of trouble because he's like an alt-right guy on like Twitter and he said a bunch of like messed up stuff. So we're not going to touch him. So
Okay.
they hired a new actor and gruesomely murdered him in the opening scene of her introductory episode. Apparently, Seven of Nine's ex-girlfriend was taking ex-Borgs, which they call ex-Bs in this show, and ripping out their cybernetic parts for things, and she did it to Icheb, who was a science officer on a vessel. They were trapped, which, like, they couldn't even get his uniform right. He was wearing a red uniform. He's a science officer. That's not... But anyway, so he's gruesomely murdered, probably because of the whole thing with the actor. Seven of Nine finds him, cradles him in her arms, and apologizes to him, and her line is... Exactly. I'm sorry, my child. And she point blank just fires a phaser at him and kills him. Which, by the way, they've made the phaser. You know how, like, in the 24th century, the phasers kind of look like TV remotes?
Yeah.
They turned them back into guns.
Of course.
Because TV remotes are stupid.
How was the chemistry between Jerry Ryan and, I almost said Patrick Picard?
Patrick Stewart? Patrick Picard.
Picard.
They
Patrick Picard, Xavier.
Only his closest friends can call him Patrick Picard.
they don't exactly share
PP for sure.
many scenes together.
Ew.
They're
How
either...
was the point of bringing her back then?
Because it's Seven of Nine and we need money. Like,
That's fair.
all the Voyager fans are going to come. All the Seven of Nine
mean-
fans are going to be there.
Well, what was it? When we were,
Like, she doesn't really serve any purpose other than the fact that it's
She's Seven of
Borg.
Nine.
And we're bringing back all the Borg characters like
Because
Hugh and Seven.
when you did, when I remember when this thing was, like, being teased and released, you sent me the first trailer that doesn't have her. And then you sent me the second one, and I was like, well, fuck. Now I need CBS Access, because back when I was a confused straight boy, Seven of Nine was my jam.
Yeah,
I think it was
this
the
was...
cat suit.
Yeah, I mean, she was... The main idea was to bring on her to get more
Sex
of
appeal.
that demographic
Oh, they
involved
had
into the
it.
show. And it worked.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And Jerry Ryan knew full well what was happening, but she was a single mom at the time and was like, hey, I need a job.
Do we get her in a catsuit again? I'm just asking.
No,
for...
she stays in that like outfit that she has in the
Alright.
trailer.
I mean, I guess I'm okay with it.
But she shows up. She meets with them. They gotta get Bruce Maddox from her ex-girlfriend. So they go down there. They convince her not to murder her because she's like, "You killed Egypt. I want to murder you." And they're like, "Don't do it, Seven, for the good of like people or whatever." And then they're like, "All right, sweet, problem solved." And then she goes down like 10 minutes later and murders everybody anyway.
Good girl.
So
7 of 9 getting shit done.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, I don't really care about any of the new characters, and the one that she, that still of her holding the hands with that other girl, she doesn't even have a single scene with that woman. Like, they don't have any connection. They maybe share like 5 lines with each other, but it's not like in a solo scene.
Awesome.
Like, they just, and that woman like has a daughter, or a son, a son that's like she's estranged from, because she got too. So when the androids went nuts and killed everybody when they were building refugee ships for when Romulus was going to explode, Picard was like, "You better not ban synths or I'm going to quit." And they were like, "We're going to ban synths and we're going to shut down the program." And then he quit. And so this woman got fired. Her name's Rafi, for future reference, because I'm just going to say Rafi now. Rafi then is like, "It was an inside job," which it was Romulans. But like, she was like, "It's an inside job." And she goes nuts, becomes an alcoholic of vapor, and estranges herself from her husband and child. And then later, I guess, hooks up with Seven at the end of the show.
So what's the
reason to go back and watch any of the episodes?
No, it doesn't sound like there's a reason to watch this at all.
Fever dream.
But
not.
What I'm asking is, so
yes.
with Picard himself, does he actually do anything?
He sits there and tells everybody else to do something because he's 97 and needs a stunt double to run upstairs.
I was gonna say, that man
Like
old.
in the pilot episode, that he literally gets a stunt double to run upstairs for him.
Is it worse than Samuel L. Jackson physically running?
No.
Okay.
But you can tell that it's not Patrick
I don't
Stewart.
care about that.
Well,
But,
yeah,
yeah.
when you see the guy where the clothes actually fit him, and he doesn't look like the clothes are wearing him. Yeah, that's easy to pick out.
Also, fun thing about the ending. So you see in the show, they establish before he leaves Earth that he's got like basically a brain tumor, and there's no cure. But it's not a tumor. It's an acute thing. It's messing him up.
Does he go back in time to X-Men or Wolverine?
Nope.
Logan is that and then
There it is.
and then Gandalf comes with Harry Potter. How many fandoms can
First off, hold on, wait,
Leviosa.
Patrick Stewart has nothing to do with that, with the Gandalf and the stuff. Just
he
stuff.
does.
No, he doesn't.
He wasn't in those movies.
No, but his best friend is Gandalf.
That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it does.
It doesn't.
By
at all.
proxy. 7 degrees.
And
of
why didn't you
separation.
why didn't you go with Magneto, you fool? At least
yeah.
they were in the movie together. Anyway, so what's up with the trailer? The original trailer made a whole big deal about this girl that he had to find and protect and save, and
she's a twin.
I guess there was this whole thing about the Borgs, and they thought the rumors were that she was a Borg queen, and
Oh no. She, as it turns out, when Data died in Star Trek Nemesis, some of his positrons, which are the android equivalent of brain neurons, survived the explosion. Bruce Maddox then yoinked a couple of these and made an android.
Who's Bruce Maddox?
Bruce Maddox. Okay, this is a really niche reference, which is why you cannot watch Picard without watching Next Gen, because there's so much. This show tries to let you do that because every 10 lines is just an exposition monologue of oh yes, this character showed up in this episode of TNG and we did this and this and this. But Bruce Maddox is that guy that showed up in that one episode of Next Gen Season 1 where he was like, "I want to take Data apart because Data's not a person, and I want to make more of him.
This is the one. This is the episode you keep telling me about the trial and everything, right? And
they go on trial to prove Data's a person.
Yeah. And that androids have souls and all this other nonsense. Yeah.
Not the same actor. I think that guy actually just quit acting. But yeah, they have to get.
Okay, so this guy yoinks the positrons out of thin air and does what with them?
And he, I think, does he make the entire race with them, or is it just the girls? Do you remember?
No, I think it's everyone is made with them.
Yeah, he makes an entire race of androids. Synthetic androids that have flesh and blood.
Is Data alive?
In a sense. Yeah, in a sense, because some of his consciousness survived. So Patrick Stewart finds this out. Okay, this is later in the show. But for now, I'll just explain that so the way they do it is they take the positron and they make twins. So there's 2 sets of every android. So in the pilot episode, Daj dies, who's the one that you see in the beginning.
Wow, they straight up ripped off Battlestar Galactica.
Did they?
They do a whole, there's a whole thing in Battlestar with, the Cylons. When they start making the different Cylons that look like people to make them, insurgents.
Oh, okay.
There's multiples of each, insurgent Cylon, and they don't necessarily know that they're a Cylon.
Like I said, every sci-fi property is in this show except Star Trek. And then he's
the logos are there, though.
Yeah, and he's like, we gotta find Soji, who's the other twin, and he's like, we gotta see what Bruce Maddox was doing. This is all connected to him. This is why this woman showed up, and the Tau or the Jad Vash are the ones that are trying to kill Soji and Daj to prevent this apocalypse. And she's working on a Borg cube called the Artifact, which is a Borg cube that was separated from the collective because it assimilated the only Romulan ship that it was ever known to be assimilated, because it absorbed the knowledge of the apocalypse and just shut down.
Okay.
And that was it. And so she's working on that as a scientist, and Hugh actually runs that facility, and they retcon that Hugh and Seven know each other, though they never share a scene because Hugh is brutally murdered by one of the Jadvash.
Who the hell is Hugh?
Hugh's that Borg that they found on that planet once, and then he stayed with them for long enough that he started to develop individuality again. And then he comes back later, and he's got a Borg revolt, and he's fighting Lore.
Now,
please.
No. You.
I was just gonna make a really stupid comment.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I live for your stupid comments.
That's a sad thing. So
they make me feel better about myself.
Is this one of those things? So we pluck Data's consciousness and make a whole entire synthetic race, right? I got that right?
Some of them are gold, some of them are flesh and blood.
I don't know what that means. So
like gold skin, like his gold skin.
Oh, I just thought he was pasty and pale.
Oh yeah, they all are. I forgot, they're all gold skin except for Daj and Soji. Okay.
So when their powers combine, do they form Data? Is it
no.
all of them meet together?
I wish
just
that'd be really that'd be really funny.
Because I would literally subscribe to CBS Access right now.
That'd be beautiful.
If you told me there's a room full of them and they all just form Data.
And please,
it's so
hire
funny.
me. I will make the sounds of them coming together.
I want to hear it.
That would be beautiful.
Something like that.
Oh.
Work on it and get back to you, but I can picture.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Hey, so Riker has a kid.
Yeah. Oh, Riker actually had 2.
Are they
Notice
hot?
I said had, and that's.
Let me guess.
They're not even old enough.
Hold
Don't
on.
do that.
Let me guess. Picard got one of the kids killed.
Well, I assumed Riker was beautiful.
He had a silicon. So the son, who was the firstborn, had a silicon-based brain virus, and just died from it.
He keeps talking about all this, and all I keep imagining is Mr. Sinister plucking Data's essence out of the ether, like he did with Maddie and Jean in the Phoenix. This is all I'm imagining.
They do have a daughter. The daughter's fine. I mean, that's probably out of this clusterfuck of nothing. The Riker and Troy episode is fine because it's fun seeing them together for the first time in 20-something years.
I do like the fact that we got a lot of Friday memes out of it, though.
Friday memes?
You know the memes with
Question mark
with Chris Tucker and Ice Cube where they're like they're
the
sitting on
movie
the
Friday.
yeah
they're like
where they're like damn
damn.
they do that with one of the scenes of Riker and Picard standing next to each other because of the way that they're standing and leaning. They just literally use that as the new Friday meme now. It's great.
Yeah. I like
So good.
That was fun. Oh, I wanted to tell you which will incorporate what happens with Data's consciousness, the rest of it at least. So the brain tumor in the finale kills Picard. He dies. They literally, it's generations. He dies. Except, it's also established that the estranged son of Dr. Noonien Sung, Data's dad, but this is a biological son, who's also played by Brent Spiner, because every Sung is played by Brent Spiner, was working on a android body so that he could put his consciousness in it and live forever. So what they do is when Picard dies, they put his consciousness into this android, who also looks 97 because we're not going to digitally de-age Patrick Stewart because we blew the budget on everything else. So they put his consciousness in there, and in the transfer, he meets the last of Data's consciousness, and Data's like, when you leave, fucking kill me. I want to die. I want to see what mortality feels like. So when Picard comes back as the android, he just unplugs Data, and Data's gone forever. For real this time, it's over, and that's it. Also, they gave him a cellular decay thing, so when Patrick Stewart dies in real life, they can be like, oh, he died for real in the show too.
So I have a thought. X-Men 3 we felt the need to rip off of 2? X3?
Like I said, every sci-fi thing except for Star Trek. But yeah, I really just wanted to tell you how it ended. When Patrick Stewart's consciousness is transformed into an android body that looks exactly like his own body, and he will also die when he would in real life because reasons.
Is Patrick Stewart legitimately 97?
No, he's like 80-something.
Oh, okay.
No, that's just a joke.
I didn't think he was that old. I was like, God.
But he is one of the executive producers on this show. One of the 18 executive... There's executive producers, supervising producers, co-executive producers, co-producers, and among them is Patrick Stewart. There's 18 of them in this. Almost as many as Discovery, which had 21. More than the cast, man.
In semi-related news, 7 of 9's getting a mini-series from IDW.
Yep.
I just felt this would be a good place to chuck that in at.
Ow! 7 of 9!
She was there in the series.
I was like, let's just bring that up.
There's an amazing scene where 7 of 9 is fighting the Jadvash officer that killed Hugh, and they actually ADR'd in post her saying this... and then she kicks the woman off the ledge, is for Hugh. And they ADR'd it in post because when she says the word this, her mouth isn't open. So you can tell that it wasn't said when they filmed it.
I have follow-up questions. Do we reference Janeway?
She references Voyager in an episode, but not... does she name drop Janeway? No. Okay.
Do we get the reason why her and Chakotay aren't together?
Nope.
Then this show has no meaning to me. I hope that she castrates him. I never liked Chakotay.
I think...
I thought Chakotay was fine. I think they just never explored him. Oh, did you know that the...
I don't need to explore
the guy that they would talk to as like their advisor on Native American rituals was actually a fraud?
No.
Tell me more.
Because they would do that for Chakotay's history, and it turned out that guy, like the expert, they would talk to a Native American expert. Turns out he was a total fraud.
That's amazing.
So all that Vision Quest shit that they did was just made up by the guy.
That's the show I want to watch.
So here's my question though with the Janeway stuff though, because if I'm remembering correctly, even with because like they try as much as they can not to pay any attention to the Abrams verse. But I know that at least up till recently, anything that was any of the books for Star Trek, pretty much everything in Star Trek is canon. And I know that post Voyager, like everything goes wrong for Janeway. Like, doesn't she actually wind up like getting like screwed over by the Borg again.
I don't know if that happens in any of the books, but I know she becomes an admiral because
Yeah.
she's seen in First Contact, I think it is.
No,
or
she's
is
seen
it
in
Nemesis?
Nemesis.
Nemesis, she's
No,
an
but
admiral.
it's after that. It's post that because it's they talk about like there's something that happens to her and it doesn't go well.
Speaking of the books, another fun fact: when Riker leaves to go command the Titan, Tuvok is his security officer in the book because they have a Titan series. So there's a little bit of a crossover there. Which
Tuvok.
there was actually supposed to be a planned crossover for the 3 series, that being Next Gen, DS9, and Voyager. However, the financial failure of Nemesis stopped that from happening. It was supposed to be like Riker gets in a big trouble and everyone goes to save his ass. So, but what was your original question? Didn't you ask?
No,
something?
I was just because he was
I'm
asking
not
about
sure.
he was asking about Janeway and I thought that in canon she's
So according to Wikipedia, everything you're about to tell me is not canon. But go on.
Yeah.
No.
Some of them are not because they also reference the fact that Worf is alive.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Yes, Worf is because one of his Romulan butlers is like, why don't you call like Riker or Geordi or Worf? And he's like, nah, I'm gonna call a bunch of randos. And he's like, fair enough.
Well, that's the thing we were trying to figure out. So I'm guessing that the stuff that happens with, at least in the
prequel comic for the 2009 Star Trek movie.
Yeah, so
I'm
guessing none of it's actually related to that universe then.
I guess because the destruction of Romulus is a thing, and they reference Spock, but not in a way where they reference the fact that he went back in time.
They wouldn't know he went back in time. They would just think he died.
Yeah. Well, not even that he died,
because that's the whole thing.
One of them
in the prequel comic, when it ends, they think that Spock and the Romulan ship are just swallowed up by the black hole and that they die.
Oh.
That's what they think happens to them.
Yeah. Well, they don't reference that. They just reference like, oh, he even met the great Spock, and that's all they mention about Spock. So they don't. I don't know if that's all we know is that Romulus had a supernova and Picard was like too busy running the operation to build the refugee ships.
So apparently, in Picard, the episode Maps and Legends, when Jean-Luc Picard finally decides to seek help from Starfleet in his new mission to find Bryce Maddox and save, what was her name, Soji. He meets a Starfleet Commander-Chief Admiral Kristen Clancy. Mm-hmm. That was originally supposed to be played by Janeway. That was supposed to be her cameo.
Oh, that would have sucked.
That was supposed to be her cameo.
Because that's the one. That's the admiral that tells him to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that was supposed to be her cameo.
Ugh. Why didn't it happen?
I'm looking for that now.
Because she's the one. Because he marches in and he's like, I need a ship and I'll be demoted to captain, whatever. And then she's just like, the sheer fucking hubris, and she just tells him off for like 2 minutes, and it's a dumb scene.
So it was changed at the last minute, and I quote, because Janeway is a hero and friendly to Picard, she does not represent modern Starfleet.
Yeah, because modern Starfleet sucks, and that's what they want you to get. They don't reference her at all or her involvement in Starfleet. I would imagine she's still a member. She was probably a part of the board that was like, oh, we'll take your resignation, but I don't know. We won't know until season 2, unfortunately. If that ends up happening, I'm not sure. This is because I was telling Devon before, because I didn't realize this until now. This is just Generations for Picard, because Generations screwed over Kirk as a character, and now it's just Picard getting screwed over. Like, this is just another captain story getting milked to the point where, like, all right, it's bad now. Like, you just did this to take my money. I don't want this anymore.
She has publicly come out and avoided the question hard. Kate McGrew.
Like her involvement in the show?
She is literally like, I'm looking at like right now. She talks a lot about, because she was actually there the day that he announced it. at Con, like that surprise. She was
Yeah, they
at
did a
that
Voyager
con.
reunion.
And she was just shocked, and she talks about, he wanted it to be a hit, and like she doesn't answer the question about coming back. She just avoids it.
Yeah, it's probably because she probably knows. She's like, it's not gonna be good.
Yeah.
Either that, or she would know Janeway better than Patrick Stewart knows
And that's, I think, where she's
Picard,
at.
I guess. Because Patrick Stewart just puts Picard wherever he wants it to go because he knows he can do it. If it's something, because now whoever's running Star Trek is just like, Patrick Stewart, do what you want as long as you'll be in this.
Yeah.
We get money, so we don't care. Because that's what all the movies were. Where Patrick Stewart wants to be an action hero now instead of the peace-talking guy, so every movie has to end with him fist-fighting someone. Look at it. Every next-gen movie ends with him fist-fighting someone.
Even his own half-cloned child.
Yeah. In First Contact, he fist-fights the Queen. In Insurrection, he fist-fights that Admiral.
Oh my god, I forgot that
Nemesis.
Data has sex with the Queen.
Yep. Well, does he fuck her? Or does he just, like...
He gets off on it.
They kiss.
No.
They kiss.
They kiss, and like she pretty much like brings him to climax, and it's like not this like, I don't even know what to call it, but
yeah,
like he's very uncomfortable. Data like moaning in ecstasy.
Yeah, she like blows on his skin, and it makes his like hair come up, and he's like, "Ooh."
Yeah.
Well,
like,
does she whistle at the same time?
To continue our theme of train wrecks tonight, Caleb. Marauders.
You sure you want me to get?
I really want to hear your opinions on Marauders.
I think I've said enough on Star Trek.
All right. Well,
I'm sure we'll come back around to Star Trek.
This is a franchise that has crossed over with Star Trek in the past. X-Men in the comics.
It has actually. That is true.
What a weird thing.
Because why the hell not?
I mean, Green Lanterns did it.
Was that another Phoenix story?
I don't know, but I remember someone trying to hit on Jean.
Probably Kirk.
I don't remember who it was, but anyway, Marauders.
All right, so here's the thing about Marauders. First of all, spoilers, major spoilers here.
Major spoilers for Marauders.
Minor spoilers?
Major.
Will, come on, do the thing.
What?
Major spoilers.
Oh, sorry, do it one more time.
Is that like a thing we do?
Major spoilers.
I mean, I don't know.
I love
the
that.
remix real quick. But anyways, Marauders, man. So here's the thing about this book. So Kitty died.
Kate.
Okay,
Kate
fine.
died.
Kate died issues ago.
Catherine Pride.
Kate Pride.
Miss Pratt. Okay, so she's murdered. Okay. Right, she doesn't just die; she's murdered. And with what's going on in the X books right now with Coca-Cola, we know that right now, pretty much anybody that dies can come back.
Yeah,
and we learned that in one of the earlier X books, and you get this one moment where you're like, oh my gosh, all the the team is killed, and then 5 seconds later they're brought back to life, and I was like, what the hell? So, anyways, going back to Marauders with that in mind, Kate is dead, right? And the team doesn't know what's going on.
Well, don't forget, you got to put the big thing about the book in. What was the big thing about Kate with Coca-Cola?
She couldn't
get in. That's right. For some reason, she was not allowed to go through the gates of Coca-Cola.
Because we're talking about the island of Krakoa.
Yes.
But we are going to refer to it from now on as Krakoa.
Krakoa.
Krakoa Island only allows mutants on the island.
That's right.
So you can only be there if you're a mutant. You can only get into the clubhouse, rather.
Oh my god!
So it's literally supposed to be the land of milk and honey for mutants.
Yeah. So originally, the whole reason why, when they premiered the cover with Marauders #1, Kitty's all effed up. And you're like, why is she all effed up? The first 5 pages, she goes to walk through the gateway and just smashes her face right into the gate.
She's got a nice black eye. She's still looking
and a broken nose.
And a broken nose.
That's right.
She looks foxy.
And we got to say, normally she can phase through things.
Before we go through this,
yes.
Is this the resolution to that scene in the the search for Wolverine where Iron Man's like, one of the X-Men isn't a mutant?
No, it's not. It's even dumber than that.
Oh, okay.
But so that's the premise, is that she can't get back. She can't get on the island, and when mutants die and they resurrect them, because the whole thing is they back up people's. Charles is backing up everyone's minds every day, so that way if you die, they can recreate your body, and he can put your most current version of you in the body.
And it's like an upgraded version.
But you as a person are dead. It's a duplicate of you with all your
it's
memories.
a clone with your memories.
Oh,
the
that's
best part of you.
Yeah, it's clone. Call it whatever you want. It is not your original birth body.
So now that we're all caught up on that, Caleb, Kate.
All right.
Kate Pride died.
Kate Peasy, okay?
Yeah.
So Kate herself is gone, right? And the team doesn't know. Nobody on Krakoa knows where she is except for her murderer, all right? And actually Lockheed, like Locke knows what's up, right?
Yeah. What was it? The Vietnamese family pulls them up on their
They
boat.
find him. They nurse him back to health. This is going on through the issues, and so
that poor little bastard flies all the way back to
Krakoa. Now, which one was the one that got caught up in the net and drowned? Was it Kate or was it Lockheed or was it both?
I think it was Lockheed. Lockheed. Yeah, yes.
That's how they find him.
He gets grabbed up.
Yeah. So what happens to Kate? Does he just how does he kill her again?
Oh, I didn't want to say who did that.
You're already spoiling.
Yeah, but I feel like
I didn't say who did. I just said how did he kill her?
Well, now we know it's a he.
Lights her up.
Okay, there's so many he
mutants.
That's
more than half of the Marvel universe.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I should remember this, but I'm pretty sure he lights her up. Just shoots her.
No, I think it's something like she, for some reason, Krakoa kills her. He does something with the plant or something.
That's the part that I can't remember.
And she gets pulled down and she can't phase out of it.
I remember water.
I'm pretty sure
she was on the boat.
He shot her.
Oh, I don't think he shoots her because she can't. She's alive. She's drowning alive.
If y'all could let me just say.
Sorry, I'm going to do research.
You keep researching. She's gone. She's dead. She's murdered, right? So anyways, in this issue, we have Kurt. He's sitting down in the background. Nightcrawler, excuse me. I know him as Kurt. He's my boy, Wagner. But anyways, so he is kind of sitting down, and you can see the letters that he's been writing her, and so you're kind of feeling the pain, but he doesn't really know yet that she's been gone. But then while that's happening, there's a setup for her actual funeral, so you're like, oh, they are figuring out what's going on. And then it's just like this really nice setup, and then all of a sudden he's talking about Bobby, Iceman, and how he's really in his feelings right now, and he's affected the most by all of it. Thank you, you're right. And then pulled down into the water and drowned.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
So it's
Thank you so much.
It's something I'm assuming it's Krakoa, with Roots. The person who kills her is controlling it and pulls her into the water, and she can't phase out.
Can I see that again?
Yeah.
Which actually makes me have a lot more questions now about that.
Which makes me think it's Krakoa because she can't phase through it.
That is interesting. So we've got that set up, and then you see them at the funeral, and even on the cover, she's in her casket, and they're doing the funeral, and then people are putting flowers down, and here comes Emma. Emma throws her rose down. She's one of the last people to do so, but as she does it, she turns around and leaves, and of course, two of the people in front, Magic, and I can't remember who the other character are, they turn and they look at her, and it was two female characters, and they look at disgust, because she's just dropping her rose and walking away, and then as soon as Emma gets behind the door, she falls down back against the door. She's crying by herself, and you're feeling this moment,
which is an Emma thing,
right? She keeps her emotions and her feelings close, right? She's guarded. She's fucking got skin of diamonds, okay? If that doesn't tell you what kind of person she is, right?
Well, it's also just it's one of those moments too. I mean, especially if you're a longtime X-Men reader, that moment, that right there, she's had that moment before, because when they lost Kitty the first time, when she wound up having to fade, something was coming. It was like a bullet or something coming towards Earth.
Oh, big bullet,
the big space
and
bullet.
she phased it through Earth, and she got stuck on the thing. And Emma, she blamed herself. She was like, "It's my fault."
Which is 100% what's going on right now, because she made her the Red Queen, which sent her out on the ship, but she couldn't get into Krakoa anyway. So, but I'm sorry, I interrupted your point.
No.
I might as well put you to use.
It's just surprising how close her and Emma have become.
True.
Especially since they hate each other.
And Emma doesn't really get that close to anybody, at least not on the surface.
No.
Right? And so we have this moment. You
can ask Scott Summers about that.
Oh, good old Scotty too, boy. How you doing, Scott? You haven't talked in a long time. Do me a favor, pick up the phone, give me a call. I just need to know what else is going on in your life. But so so anyways, I digress. But you have this moment, Emma's fallen, collapsed, and her feelings, emotions, boom, 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 and then all of a sudden there's an intruder. And who is it? It's Locke. Lockheed makes it through the window, and she comes over to Lockheed, and she has this moment, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, like, are you? Who did this? Show me." So she sees what happens, and boom, another burst of emotions. This time it's anger and rage, right?
Which made
so
me
you're
endlessly happy.
Dude, I'm like, let's go. Okay, so now we've got a death, which is like you're letting this thing happen. You're letting people feel it, awesome. And then you've got anger, you're letting people feel it, and then all of a sudden you go to the next part where they're like, we don't want her to go. You got to try to bring her back again, Charles. Charlie, try one more time. Bring her back to life. And like, he's like,
testify.
I'm sorry.
No, keep this up.
And so the crazy thing about it is like, it's actually not crazy at all. You see it coming, but as you're reading the issue, you're like, please, just let it linger. Let me feel this. Because I haven't felt too much through a lot of the X books, unfortunately, even though I still support the writers. I want y'all to keep doing what you're doing. But listen to this piece if anybody's listening. If you're going to let me feel emotions, let me hold on to them for just a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. The fact that she was dead, cool. I'm glad that you at least waited a few issues. But still, the fact that 2 pages after, a page and a half after you took me to this incredible place in storytelling, you just boom, and she's back to life. She's coming. Thank you, Eggs, for your contribution and helping to bring her back. And she comes back, but I don't care. At that moment, you like, you took away my experience in this comic book. And maybe that's wrong and a harsh take, but I was like, come on. And like, I had a sigh of myself. I was Emma behind the door crying like, why X books? Why?
I'm frequently Emma.
Well, here's my other thing too. I think it's also kind of like weird how they bring her back too, because Charles doesn't have her mind backed up.
Well, right. Here's the weird thing that I have.
They use
with that.
all of
they haven't quite explained it.
No, they need to flesh that out.
Well, no, because I thought they used Lockheed's memories.
They use Lockheed to bring back her last moments. But the weird part that I struggle with this...
So didn't they just put Lockheed in a human body?
That'd be awesome.
Isn't that basically what they just did? It's not even Kate anymore.
The things that I'm struggling with this, and maybe I'm just going full on conspiracy theorist with this, I don't... because they bring up Kate, or they tried bringing Kate back 18 times.
Right.
And Charles looks at them all and he says, we're not doing it again. You get one, and then he's like, we're not done with it. He goes, but I'm not doing it again.
You have to start bringing the other people, because there's a huge-ass line of dead mutants. Did anyone think
that maybe that was just his way of not wanting Kate back?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Because for me to be like, okay, he was there, he did all that. Yeah. Emma's the one that pulled her out of it.
Right.
Emma's the one that figured it out, that, it's a phasing issue. That her body isn't phasing properly, or her soul isn't phasing properly.
Isn't even, honestly, to me, that isn't even terrible. Like, you can somehow make that work, but it doesn't pay off in that moment, because you could have waited at least one more issue. And you could have focused on Emma's anger and the team rallying with a new focus, which would have taken the comic book in an incredible direction.
Now, with that being said, I think that story had to be wrapped up. Sure. The next issue, Vita Ayala is taking over.
Cool.
And Jerry Dugan is going to something.
Okay.
I saw his name on a new solicit, and I don't remember what it was. So I wonder maybe that's why he was like, all right, I'm going to wrap this storyline up real fast because I want to finish it my way.
Sure.
But I'm right there with you. Yeah. There should have been a great moment, and every time this happens with these two characters, it always sells.
Word.
People love seeing these two characters go at it. And the fact that you didn't, like, you sat there and you were like, yeah, it's going to be on hold for a BRB, which in all honesty, it's not going to get really resolved until after X of Swords.
Right.
Well, I don't know, because they talk about, like, a lot of the Emma issues are dealing with a dinner. And I'm wondering if she's going to take her revenge. Right. I wonder if she's going to take the whole revenge thing during that.
During that.
Yeah, you know what? That would make sense.
And
I know that that's how this shit works.
Yeah.
We've been reading comics for a long ass time.
Also, Emma's a long game girl.
Word, and
she don't give into that random moment of anger.
That's true, and that's everything she does. She definitely plans it out. Plays life like a chess game, which is right there when she goes to bust open his chessboard, and she's like, no. Because that's how she plays games, and that's how she lives life.
Where she got so angry. But my problem that I run into is that Emma just walks in and goes, I got this, which I have no problem with Emma ever walking and going, I got this, and brings Kate back.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I know Devon is done with X-Men, but you did read all of House and Powers. Charles has to be the one to implant the memories, right?
Ooh.
Emma bypasses Charles and goes, I got this, and pulls Kate back.
It's normally Charles because Charles is the one that has everybody's memories.
Which now makes me sit there and go,
well,
this leads me to believe, did Charles purposely not want... Is this another Raven and Mystique moment where we say we're going to give the people
hold on a second. But also don't forget, we still don't know what the other 5 backups are. Because remember, Forge helps him with that.
Yeah.
He's one of the backups.
But that doesn't happen.
But he has it happens in House and Powers.
Oh yeah, that's right. It happens long before that.
He has 5 other backups. I would imagine they have to be psychics.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Emma's one of the other people who has backups for the memories.
Or are they Super Charles? Is it a Krakoa body of 5 different Charleses?
No, I think he has it. I would say it's 5 other telepaths. Okay. I mean, it would have to be. That would also explain why. I haven't read it, but that would explain why Phantom X is alive again. He's one of the other
backups,
powerful telepaths that there are. I mean, him. So Charles, Emma, Phantom X, Jean.
I'm assuming
Jean would. Except for the fact that Jean is is that even Jean anymore? She's literally literally is like. Oh, it's Jean from classic X-Men.
Yeah. So she's useless.
Yeah, pretty much.
It feels a little bit like that movie with Bette Midler. What's the one with all the wives where they're like the husbands?
First Wives Club.
It feels like First Wives Club. Like the reset for her is like they've got Jean locked somewhere, and then like there's this robotic like. Hello, I'm Jean. Everything.
Oh, are you thinking of? No, I know what you're thinking of.
You're thinking of the Stepford
Wives. That's it, not First Wives.
You're thinking of the one. Well, the remake had Nicole Kidman in it.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think Bette Midler was in that too.
She's in that as well.
Is she in the remake?
Yeah. Bette
Who
Midler.
was in the original?
I don't remember.
You got me on that. Show. You got me on that. Have we gone too far on this?
For me? No. Yeah. I'm following.
For the show, is it time to I feel bad?
No, that was originally a movie.
So we start talking about this.
I think they did it. No, I think they recently did a TV show. Or they were gonna do a TV show.
This is what Google's for.
So
you're not reading Marauders, right? Well,
no, I'm just reading X-Men, but that's quite curious. So just to be clear with you, they killed Kitty, and an issue later they just brought her back.
Yeah, it took a while. It took
about
no.
I was gonna say 5 issues probably, right?
Maybe 3 because COVID.
Like 2 or 3. It's just been a while because the last one that came out, the last issue that came out before COVID was the issue after she dies, and that's the one with Bishop on the cover with the thing flying in front of his face. Yes. And then it's only been 2 issues since then.
Oh man.
So it was 4 issues.
So what
her dying, and then 3 issues later they brought her back.
So what you're telling me is what helps to even make that death longer, to possibly make me feel the pain is not the writers but actually COVID.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Oh shit. No hate on the writers though. Let me not get like that. But so if I can say, because I feel like I've really taken a moment to put Marvel in the corner and pee on it. There are some incredible things. Can I take 2 seconds?
You know what's an incredible book that Marvel's putting out? Ghost Rider. Oh wait, that's right. They canceled it.
That's not fair. Jeremy's not here to get mad at you.
That's true.
No, I'm mad about it. I love that book.
Sons of bitches all.
Sons of bitches all. No, but Caleb, what is good that's coming out?
What are you gonna say?
So if I can just say, as soon as I finished reading that, I read issue 4 of Wolverine. What a fresh breath of air! I wasn't expecting to enjoy this Wolverine run as much as I am, but it felt good. It felt like a book that is just moving and.
Wait, did they finally bring Wolverine back? Because I thought we were still on this 3-year long let's return Wolverine series.
Wolverine is back, and Wolverine has stolen Magneto. Sorry, spoiler.
I already saw that.
Stole Magneto's helmet to do some shit, which was badass in a prior issue. And then in this issue, spoiler alert, he gives Magneto's helmet back and puts it on. And after he puts it on, then he has this moment where he realizes that Wolverine has pissed in his helmet. And it's hilarious. So, reading this book, it's good. And then there's this whole banter back and forth telepathically with Xavier and Wolverine while the helmet thing is going, and it is like so fucking good. But anyways, so that was a lot of fun. And then another surprise from Marvel to me is the Baby Cable book. I know you hate Baby Cable.
I hate this book.
I'm not for Baby Cable, but something about like the cuckoos messing with his ass.
That is the only good thing about this that I like.
I'm not even like a go hard for Baby Cable. No. And I'm just like, I'll just pick it up on a fucking whim. Honestly, what sold me was the first cover for the first issue. I was like, there's something beautiful about this.
Well, Phil Noto, I know Devon doesn't like him on interiors. I love the man's artwork.
Word. That was a beautiful cover that sold me. And then it just like has these little moments that keep me going. But today's issue, but go ahead.
Well, no. Again, like I like Phil Noto for covers.
Yeah, you're not a big interior
because
for him.
Nothing ever happens.
Well,
it's literally just stills. Like it's not fluid. Like it doesn't feel like it feels like I'm looking at like a storyboard.
I will tell you his Black Widow, prior to Mark Waid's, I felt movement. This I don't, and I feel you on
Interesting.
that.
Well, that was the problem I had with his Daredevil.
It brought me.
Yeah.
That Daredevil book was beautiful, but nothing. It was
doesn't
like
feel moving.
it was so boring
happened.
to read. Like just the way it looks.
Damn. But if I could say this, the last part, because I've talked for so long, and I apologize again.
Do you care?
Dude,
there's a part,
you know what? Here's the
what's
thing.
Up? What's
the
happening?
thing that gets me is I forgot to have Will clock himself. Because when we get off topic, he always clocks and goes, we've been on this topic for like an hour and 20 minutes. I wonder how long that Star Trek ran.
Well, I would never.
That was only about like 30 minutes, maybe.
Well, I would
only
never,
30, but we're 51 minutes in right now.
So you haven't even beat Will yet. You haven't beat Will yet.
Well,
it's okay.
I'll just end with this then. That book has surprised me again today when I was reading the issue. I'm not like a huge Deadpool fan either. I think, the original Deadpool was always... But anyways, moving forward, the part that I love is his banter back and forth with Deadpool. And Deadpool calling him Baby Cable, calling him Babel. Which
Babel!
I was sitting on the couch myself and I was just like...
I love that.
Obviously, this is some shit we would say and give him this name. But it was so
Babel.
funny to have... King Deadpool being ridiculous and giving him that name.
Well,
and also seeing, spoiler alert, old man Cable in a freaking pool table. I'm just read the issue. It was fun. I was surprised by it.
In a pool table?
I'm just going to leave it like that. In a pool table that you could still play pool on.
He was physically in the table.
Dead old. I'm not. You know what? Just if that piques
All right,
your interest,
I
pick up
guess
the
I
book.
just have to read it.
I don't know where it's gonna go from here, but all I can say is 2 and 3 really had me.
I did like the cuckoo.
What's
stuff,
even going on with those X-Men books? Because
They're
I thought
getting-
everyone was like happy-go-lucky murder fuck cult.
it is.
And now
it's a
but
happy-go-lucky...
like you have like books where like some of them are like being like,
I hope
because I thought Wolverine was one of the ones that was like fine. But now he's like putting on the helmet and being like, I'm going to do my own thing.
I like it. I don't know what it is. And
Well,
you're
no, like
right, but-
well, that's the thing though. Wolverine's been the one character through all of this who's kind of been like,
himself.
this is all a bad idea.
Well, I thought I thought Kurt was the one that was like,
No, Kurt had some previous religious problems
with reincarnation.
With reincarnation.
Well, the other thing too, for Kurt at this point, once he dies, he dies. He doesn't have an afterlife.
Yeah, Kurt has
Because
no afterlife.
when he died before,
in the most badass way ever.
That's the one where Wolverine is like, elf.
Yeah.
That's the one where Kurt, to get Hope away from Bastion,
Yeah.
he teleports her. Bastion, though, as Kurt's teleporting her, puts his fist through Kurt's chest, rips out his heart.
No, that's not what happens.
Isn't it?
No. What happens is...
I like my version better.
Actually, the version that happens is actually more badass. Because what winds up happening is... Kurt's teleporting is trying to distract Bastian so he can grab Hope and teleport out of there. Bastian makes all the calculations in his head and realizes where Kurt's going to teleport, puts his arm out, and Kurt teleports his heart around his arm.
Yeah, I figured that'd be what...
And like in the last breaths of life, he grabs Hope and teleports them to Utopia, and just dies on the.
I love that guy.
And I'm thinking that it's not the issue where he dies. It's the next issue with the funeral where Wolverine bugs the hell out and pops his claws, sticks them in Hope's face, and says, "You better have been worth it."
Wow.
Because he's furious because they're all giving like eulogies and everything, and he's just so mad because he's just like because he gets so mad at Scott. He's like, "You're so full of shit." He goes, "We don't even know if this kid is even like anything."
Who they say she's gonna be?
She doesn't have any powers. She's not showing any signs of anything, and he's like,
she's a kid at this point.
Yeah, and Wolverine is just furious.
What I'm seeing now, I would. This is slightly unrelated, but yeah, Wolverine and Kurt have been like, good buds, good buds. But from what I'm seeing is to back up what you were saying about Charles not having a backup of Kitty. Which one of you said that? It was you. I could see that because Charles, from what I've read in the X-Men books at least, ever since that whole like them going to like the United Nations and like being like, don't screw with us or we'll kill you. He kind of doesn't really care about anyone who's not a mutant anymore. Well, him and Magneto are kind of on the same page as that. Like, not like kill all humans, but like don't mess with us or we'll kill you because I don't care.
The other thing though with like the Wolverine stuff.
Before you go on, I'm sorry to interrupt. Did we solve why she can't go to Krakoa?
Yes.
Or
they tell you it's a bullshit phasing issue.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh.
She couldn't phase right with the island. That's literally what they chalked it up as.
But did we ever resolve which one of them was a Sinister creation?
No.
Still not addressed?
Still hasn't even... Yeah.
Sick.
No, I think when all of that like went horribly wrong, because the thing was that Wolverine's coming back for like a year and a half. We ran that stupid story. Yeah. Never actually got a real actual Wolverine Returns book.
I thought we did. Yeah, we got Return of Wolverine.
Yeah, except for the fact, like, the whole book he's running around with no memories.
Yeah.
And I think even at the end of that book, still doesn't have all his memories back.
They do point at that a little bit.
And it wasn't until the Matthew Rosenberg's one issue of X-Men where he shows up and he's like,
Scott.
What's going on? What's going on, Slim? Logan. Good talk. We got work to do.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
Like, if you had just done nothing else and just shown me that, I would have been happy. But the thing with Wolverine is that he's literally been the one character the entire time who's kind of been like, yeah, we shouldn't be doing some of this stuff. Like, this is wrong. And it's, except for, like, in his own book he's doing that, and sometimes, like, in X-Men. But everything else,
it's in today's issue of Wolverine.
He is as well.
It's in this issue of Wolverine,
other than the Gene stuff in X-Force.
I don't know, the whole thing where him and Dakin and X-23 are all popping their claws through their head like
that was Wolverine.
Yeah,
that's the first issue.
So the backup...
That's not Wolverine, that's X-Force.
Is it? I thought
but it was I think it was Wolverine that did that with. They sent a couple of them in the little tomb thing. Yeah, it was in X-Men. Wolverine was the one that was like, you just put them in there for like 1,000 years or whatever.
Because they make the point that even X-23 can't survive it.
Oh.
Her cells will eventually die. She will not be able to regenerate.
Wow.
With the time period.
Wait, I thought they stay the same, but when they leave, it'll be 1,000 years later.
And it's something like that. Some bullshit.
Yeah, I thought if you open, like, once you enter, time starts. So, like, whenever you leave, it'll be like 1,000 years later. Like, it'll never, like, you can't just open the door, walk in, open back out.
Yeah.
Like, when you walk out, it'll be like a week later. Even if you just go whoop, whoop, like
I don't remember
something like that. If I remember correctly, I haven't read that issue in
Wait, hold on a second. Are you telling me they have a thing where they can go in there and time passes?
No, it's something...
It's some weird monolith artifact, yeah.
That they need to, like, destroy, but the only way to get to it, it's like a time lock. So they're trapped. They can destroy this thing, they destroy it, but they're trapped in there for, like, a certain amount of time. It doesn't reopen. and Charles can't back up their memories because it's psychic proof. But instead of just bringing them back, that whole issue was weird and made no sense.
Mm-hmm.
So who's stuck in the time lock?
Darwin,
23.
X-23.
Who's the third one?
They killed off X-23?
Yep, she did.
Yep.
She did.
Darwin 23 and
It's.
Is it Magic?
No, Magic's still alive.
Nope. Oh God, who is the third one? I don't remember. But yeah, basically they're stuck in there forever, and I think it's Wolverine that was like, "You sent them. You didn't tell them it was a one-way trip," and he was like, "Meh." And he's like, "What the fuck?" But yeah, that's kind of how that whole resolved. But yeah, no, that was a thing in X-Men. So they're gone now. Whoopsie.
Charles Xavier needs to die.
Yeah, you know what? I think
Charles.
But I think this is setting that up.
Like if the final story arc of this stupid run of books isn't Charles Xavier must die, I'll be very upset with this.
Oh, you got the issue?
I think so.
Can I see it? Or
I was gonna say too.
Flip through it real fast.
Talking about what both you guys were saying earlier about, you felt like Wolverine is doing his own thing, and you're mentioning he's kind of been talking about it from the beginning, for a while through the books. He does mention that he doesn't feel like he's like people feel too safe, so they don't have that part in the world where it's that dirt and that grime that keeps you on your game, it keeps you practicing, it keeps you paying attention, and he continues to talk about that, but then also in this week's book he talks about it as well because
it's not
he just
Armor?
talks about.
No, it's Sync.
Oh, I thought that was Armor.
Is the third.
Sync is the third. So
Well, this is Armor, but
Darwin,
Armor doesn't go in there with them.
X-23 and Sync.
But anyways, I'll let it go.
Why do they have a kitchen sink in there?
Yeah.
No, that's the thing, and like Wolverine has a big Wolverine's still trying to have like the moral thing where he's kind of like, Charles, you're inviting Apocalypse, Sinister.
Yeah.
Like
you tried Sabretooth, you tried Omega Red.
Yeah, well, they had Omega Red. Like in Wolverine #1, Omega Red shows up and Wolverine's like, "Get out!"
Yeah, it's like,
and then that's like why him and Magneto go at it because Magneto's like, "Oh,
everybody deserves a chance," basically.
Yeah, which, okay, like Magneto, you're full of shit.
I feel like that'd be more of a Charles
argument.
Yeah,
well, like the thing, like for me, for Magneto, it's like. And for like Wolverine not to, because Wolverine always has like these like straight up harsh reality like mental checks on characters. Like he has like this moment in I think we've talked about it before during Civil War when Luke Cage was like all about like no one the registration thing doesn't really matter and who cares about it, like like the mutants are okay and you guys have like Sentinels hanging out watching you guys, and he was like, and Wolverine's like, yeah, he goes, okay Luke, let me put it in terms for you. How would you feel if you had a burning cross in your lawn? And Luke Cage is like, what are you talking about? He's like, that's what it's like having a Sentinel sit in my front yard. So like for like Wolverine, like having these characters show up and be there is like, it's just ridiculous. And for Magneto to turn around and be like, hey, everyone deserves a chance to make up for their past sins. It's like, you witnessed horrors beyond imagining as a child. Would you extend the same type of courtesy to those people? And Omega Red's no better.
Like if Hitler was a mutant, would you let him?
Come
through?
No, he's one of us. We have to.
But that's the thing.
It'd be interesting to see if that was Magnus.
But that's the thing. That's not Magneto. So is anyone who they are anymore? Like Wolverine, seems like the only character who's kind of putting it together. Like we're not us.
Yeah, and this isn't a real world. It's always bright, and there's always like rainbows and buttercups and
the only thing for me, Jean only felt herself once to me since this whole thing.
All right.
And that is, which is so weird saying it because of what happened when she's in the hot tub in X-Force with Logan, and she's like, I can't be on this team anymore.
Right.
Like it's making me do things that I don't want to do. Like that is a Jean thing.
That's that behind the curtain.
That is like that is a Jean moment.
Yeah, but that also tells me she doesn't remember what she's done.
What I'm thinking.
Because I mean the stuff she does in the Morrison run That's some cold-blooded stuff.
Well, the stuff we're talking about is the interesting stuff, and I can only hope that these writers are maybe lifting these pieces quietly, and that would be dope.
That's what I'm
And
thinking,
that there's
because
a payoff.
even like, so you have, let's bounce around a little bit here. You have the lie that Charles and Eric give Mystique about Destiny. That yes, we'll bring her back, we're never bringing her back. Then you have the moment with Domino and an X-Force where she dies. Yeah. She tells Peter she wants to remember her death. Yeah. And she comes back and she conveniently does not remember how she died.
Right. She didn't even want to be healed.
And she didn't want to be healed.
Yeah. She wanted to remember.
She wanted to remember
all of that.
Then you have the possibility of Charles not wanting Kate to come back.
And the possibility of Krakoa, the island itself, that they keep saying is its own person, its own being.
Well, that's the other thing too. And let's not forget that there's a section of Krakoa that are blocked off.
Yeah.
There's a section of Krakoa that Krakoa doesn't know about.
That's
and there's
right.
a section that Moira's in.
I'm not entirely sure that those are two different sections, but
yeah,
it might be. And the other thing too is, like, one, how do you stop an island from knowing what's on itself?
Yeah, that's kind of stupid.
Yeah. No, I mean maybe. Well, if the island itself is an individual or a person or sentient just like them, maybe they're able to block its consciousness. Certain pieces they are people.
And maybe once Cypher was able to decipher the language and everything,
figure it out.
With language you have power, and Charles can then do his little bullshit that he does.
And I mean, what's Apocalypse's real game in all this?
And what's his real name? All I see right now is a symbol. He's the artist formerly known as Apocalypse.
You know what's
I
annoying
thought his name
to
was
me?
Abin Sur.
Yeah,
no, they take mutant names now that are in Krakoan language. Yeah, but here's the thing. This is the thing that really pissed.
Terrible, but he's the only one that.
But here's the thing that pissed me off about that. So they made a big deal about, like, okay, we're sending out all these like Krakoan language cheat cards, and you're gonna be able to.
You can't find Apocalypse's name.
You can't find. There's no, like, his name is its own symbol.
Yeah, you cannot find.
And it's not on there.
Oh.
And I was like.
I've done that like 3 times now, thinking that I'm gonna do it.
And I was like,
I like it a little bit.
And like that was the thing. Like the first issue that comes out that has the stupid card with it, it's not there. I was like, what was the point of this?
So here's the thing: if that's all a part of this under kind of like woven secret like story, these things that they're trying to do, like the reason that that's not there, and the reason that this piece is awesome, and the reason why Charles is just refusing, like that would be incredible. But I doubt that that's coming because of the way they force ends of issues when the new writer's coming in. Like, how can you make all that come through and play if Vita's coming? And Vita, do your thing. That'd be dope. But
here's the thing. Let's say we're even gonna push this off for a couple more months because of all the COVID stuff. I mean, the whole first year, and we haven't had a Moira story.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
We haven't had a story about the linchpin of this entire reality at this point. Nothing.
She's on her last life.
Yes, supposedly.
But there's still a life we don't know about.
Yeah.
Well, this is technically supposedly the last one, but she might get an 11th life.
Oh, yes, that's right.
That's what Destiny tells her. If you play your cards right,
you can get an 11th.
You can get an 11th life.
Isn't she like a mutant?
Yeah.
And she dies.
Well, that's the thing. Like that's how you find out. That's how she found out she's a mutant. She found out because when she dies, she resets.
Her and Charles keep finding each other.
Well, she
finds him. Yes, on the bench.
Well, except that one time when she got on that plane and it exploded.
Yeah, that was funny.
That is funny.
But I find it interesting. Like, I'm with Caleb on this though. Like these little nuggets have to be purposely placed.
That would be so. I would just stand up and be like, "Thank you."
Like they just like, they have to, because it's too weird for you not to put these little nuggets in.
I don't know. And tell me about this now, because again, like I've just stopped. Mm-hmm. I just can't anymore, like mentally. But reading the X-Men book. Can you just read that book and know what's going on, or like, do you really need to read these other books?
For the most part, yes, but they reference things that are happening.
Yeah.
So like when you did read this, when Charles dies in X-Force, when he gets shot in the head, it ripples through all of the books, and they all reference it. when Kate died, it referenced through all of the books. So, do you need to read it right now? No, I don't feel you do.
No,
but like they'll reference like one of the other books referenced Apocalypse's children. That you find out in.
Well, yeah, isn't one of the islands his kids?
Yeah, the one that Krakoa has sex with.
And makes another island with.
That shit is hilarious. Can we just take a second to laugh about that?
I mean, Coca-Cola finally got one.
Coca-Cola got a little.
So
Got a
who
little.
popped Coca-Cola's cap?
I want to know who
People have
Coca-Cola was before he became Coca. Because
well,
aren't all the mutants like people before they're mutants?
No, that's going to be the best part. After all this bullshit is done, Krakoa is actually going to be a mutant this whole time.
I thought Krakoa was a mutant.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's
I
been
also
the whole
wouldn't be
thing.
able
Yeah,
to be
that's
a
why
part of
they
it.
get stuck there, because Charles is like, there's a mutant on this island, and then the twist is the
that's right.
island's the mutant, and then they get stuck there, and that's how Wolverine and all them come into the fold.
Yeah, because they have to go
yeah.
save.
The
I want to
original
know how
five.
that worked.
Well, 4.
Who was like my baby? What mother
Threw
was
her
like?
child out of plane into a body of water.
Yeah, what did that transformation look like? Was it all at once?
No.
Did that child go into the water, hit puberty, and then just poof, an island popped out of the water, and she was like, "Where'd my child go?" and just gave up? Like, what is the story behind this person?
Does anyone else, and I'm sure you all don't, with
question.
the possible exception of Caleb, we keep talking about the island, and all I hear is Madonna's La Isla Bonita, that I totally butchered the sound, like I totally butchered the pronunciation of it, but that's all I hear in my head.
See, what we're really going to find out is, at the end of the day, you're going to find out that the Earth is sentient. It's really a transformer.
Yes.
And then... Oh, wait, no. I'm sorry. That's a whole different universe.
Which I started watching, by the way. I started watching the original Transformers series.
Cool.
You got the touch.
The power.
You got the power. I'm sorry.
But
Maybe not.
the
Such a great movie.
what a time that's been. Just in general, I'm enjoying it. My favorite line so far has to be Jazz's "That's one bad mother Decepticon," and I was like,
thought we were still
"Oh
talking about
wow!"
Shut your trunk.
No, I was like,
But I'm
"Oh
talking about-
wow, we're really." Wow, Jazz. I had to search and be like, was he even played by a... Okay.
I hate
All right, well, at
everything.
least they gave him that. At least it wasn't a white dude doing it.
But no, I think... I always love the original Transformers series. It's great. You have to...
Yeah. It was a time. I mean, it's a product of its time, but like it was a fun while it lasted. I like that humans are like, "Oh no, it's a Decepticon, call for help." Like it's like after one episode it's just like public knowledge that robots live here now and they will come and steal cubes.
Well, that's the thing though. That's like the fun thing about the original series. We had the 3-part opener, which is basically the 3-part like the movie. It was like a movie
3-parter.
The 3-parter, which was essentially a movie premiere, which was great. And we just kind of we were like, yeah, you know what?
Crack it open now.
We definitely did it, and we have explained this world, and now it's a thing. And I'm like, awesome.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to. We're not gonna waste this. Like that's one of my big problems with what is it? The newer one. It was Transformers. I can't remember. It was one of the newer Transformers shows, and like most of the show is them trying to hide the Autobots and Decepticons. Mm-hmm. They're like, we can't let people know, but we have to do all this really cool like robot fighting, and I'm like, all of the robot fighting happens out in the desert.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
everybody was robot fighting.
There was, oh god, but it's been a fun ride so far. I love that every episode has Starscream goes, "Megatron, I'm gonna kill you," and Megatron going, "Ugh, whatever." Like his right hand man is outright like, "I want to kill you and take over," and Megatron's like, "Ugh."
Is there any incarnation of those two characters that actually remotely like each other?
No.
Starscream's always like, "I want to kill you and take over."
Well, that's the thing. Like,
and then he does in like one, because I'm like 6 episodes in, he doesn't kill him, but he's like, he's gone, I'm taking over, and then that's They don't really do anything.
Well, what season are you on?
1.
Okay.
I'm 6 episodes in.
Okay. When you get after season 2, you have to watch the movie before you watch seasons 3 and 4.
Oh.
Otherwise, it won't
alright,
make sense.
It's so frothy.
Yeah, that's the first pour is a little.
Oh. Speaking of animated series,
So you were gonna say speaking of frothy.
and putting us back to the beginning of the podcast, I also watched Star Trek Lower Decks.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Which is
that was
basically
there.
Star Trek meets Rick and Morty.
Stop for a second. You did know this was a thing
No,
we've
no,
talked
I
about.
meant that it was out. Is what I meant
okay.
to say.
Yeah.
It's an animated series.
We're
I
yep.
don't know anything. About
And the
this.
best part about it, it's canon.
Oh wow, Nick Cannon. See, now we're talking a little bit of drumline.
Did you hear about the whole Nick
Drumline.
Cannon stuff recently with that
Which one?
podcast?
So much. No, what happened? Now?
Recently, when all that like anti-Semitism stuff came out,
What happened?
he went on
this
the podcast.
whole rant about like how everything
The black people of the original Hebrews, they took it from us and this and that. Because there was this rapper he had on that was like in trouble back in the 90s. I think he got arrested for like, a lot of anti-Semitic stuff. And he talked about it with him, but Nick Cannon was like agreeing with him and like egging him on. And CBS and everyone like made like a thing about it. And CBS was like, we're just going to stop it.
Is that why Tyra Banks is now like in charge of that show that he hosted, America's Got Talent?
Maybe, yeah.
Because why would you put her on it?
Yeah, he lost about everything except Wildin' Out, because that just prints money for MTV, I think, runs that. Yeah. But he got in a whole heap in trouble of that. And instead of being like, I'm sorry, he was like, no, I meant every word. And everyone was like,
I wish I could say I knew the history behind those two pieces, but I don't. So I'm not gonna
That's
say
uncomfortable though.
Yeah.
It was a
I
little.
was literally
it got
wondering-
a little anti-Semitic, and everyone was like,
I was really wondering.
Nick, come on, bro.
I was really wondering why though Tyra Banks was now hosting this show. It made no sense to me. And I was like, oh, you just needed someone to fill the hole. I got you.
That's it.
We'll try and
Tyra,
it up. But yeah,
Tyra fill in the hole.
I spelled
That's our new
Semitism wrong.
And actually, by the way,
She's a
we were
construction
talking all
worker.
about this stuff about Wolverine. We forgot to mention about that new series that's coming out.
Which one?
The
Wolverine.
Black, White, and Blood.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's gonna be
Tell me about it.
new mini series coming out this year.
Tell me about
It's called Black, White, and Blood. I imagine because it's really black, white, and red, but it's Wolverine, so we're gonna make sure all the red is blood.
Huzzah!
So
He-Man.
it's gonna be a 4-issue mini. It's like each issue's done by a different creative team. It's supposed to
Isn't
be...
it like a bunch of different stories too in it? So like, Claremont's coming back for a few pages. Someone else is coming back. Like,
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a whole bunch of different things
Yeah.
going on. It's gonna be like all the other like the Batman Black and White and like the
Harley.
Yeah.
What's Harley's? Isn't she black and red?
Black, white, and red. Yeah.
Black, white, and red. So it's literally just poking fun at the amazing choices at DC.
Well, DC ripped that off from. One of the original ones that did it was Grendel from Dark Horse back in the day. Was when they did it.
I wanna make a correction to something I said. Nick Cannon did apologize, but then he was like, "Give me my job back." But I apologize, so everything's okay now. So now I want my job back. So yeah, that's
And then it went to Tyra.
that's the latest
And
update.
then it
I
went
guess
to
so.
Tyra.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How many
'cause it
shows
was
does she
so
have
weird.
right now? Is that it?
That's it. Well, America's Next Top Model. What's it called? One of the networks tried to do it without her, and it didn't work.
So keeping with the theme of train wrecks
She should
tonight.
try writing an X book. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh well.
If we
I
labeled,
would read the hell
if
out
we
of it.
named,
Called Smizing, and it's all mutants that have eye powers.
And like huge foreheads.
Oh,
I'd be so down with that.
if we named
would just
episodes,
have-
this
we-
one could be called the train wreck.
to me, my Smizers. Wait.
I don't know It's Tyra Banks is the one that had like
Kiss
the,
my black ass, kiss my fat ass, and we were rooting for you.
Yes.
We were all rooting for you.
So is that what's gonna happen when she starts writing X-Men books? That's all Emma's gonna turn into.
yes,
I was rooting for you, Kate. We were all rooting for you.
Back in the day.
I have never in my life yelled at a girl like I am right now.
Did you know that the podcast was going to go here?
I loved. You don't understand.
This?
You
No,
don't
no.
understand. So I just have to go on this random tirade. When this happened,
Give
Joe
this man a drink. You want
McHale.
a drink first?
Joe McHale was still hosting the soup. All right. He overplayed the hell out of this clip in every moment that he could. The one episode I want to say literally had 5.
So yeah, I mean to wrap up our night of train wrecks, DC Comics has yet again wowed the comic book industry with
Astonished, really, is probably the
amazed.
best word.
Caleb, think of a quick adjective.
Amazed.
Weird.
Comics.
So
I'm gonna give that one a hand.
Job.
DC Comics has fired a third of their editorial staff.
Which is fine.
Due to the AT&T merger, if I'm correct, they hopped in and were just like, bye.
Bye, bitches.
I mean, not just like that, but I mean, AT&T's been assessing all the different aspects of Warner Media since they bought it, and again, why? Like, I have a feeling I would agree with the reasoning behind with these AT&T execs, where they're like, hey, you guys are one giant company. Why do we have like 16 streaming services?
Mm-hmm. HBO Max was probably the smartest thing they ever did, and they just announced that all of the DC Universe streaming shows were going to HBO Max.
Well,
so I wasted my money. But
well, they're closing. Yeah, they're closing down DC streaming.
DC Universe.
Yes, DC Universe. Excuse me.
Did they state what they were doing with the library?
I have no idea.
I thought they were keeping DC Universe to be a comic library.
I don't know.
No, I mean, from what I understand, they're closing it down.
Oh, nice.
They got rid of most of their editorial that were running a whole bunch of different divisions for DC Comics. So their collected editions editorial staff is gone. The Black Label editorial staff is completely gone.
Everybody lost their assistants. I heard all the assistants left. Well, they
All
got fired. But...
All of the editors, like all of the editors for like the lines, like the Bat Book editor, they have now taken over the responsibilities of like the putting the trades together instead of sending that over to the trade collecting department. But yeah, and then Jim Lee, I guess how Jim Lee still has his job, considering he does nothing, astounds me.
From what I understand, his position was dissolved, but he is still with the company in a new position that has not been revealed yet.
It keeps going back and forth to different reports. They say that his position's been dissolved. He's keeping his position. His position now has new responsibilities.
Yeah. He's with the company, but his current job does not exist. He's still powerful. He's still up there, but he is not in the same position that he was when this started.
Well, no, because in his interview he says he's still publisher.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's the thing. In his interview, he says he's still publisher, but in other things, they're saying that his position is gone, and so there's a lot of confusion. According to Jim Lee, though, they're cutting. So not only have they fired a third of their editorial staff,
good job.
They are also now.
They took down all the DC fandom people too. They planned that thing, and then they were like, "Bye, guys."
Fandom.
Fandom. Excuse me.
Still happening?
It's still happening.
It's still happening, but
everyone who did it, everyone who like created it and like was running it are gone.
Oh, cool.
So none of the people who
I'm sorry to cut you off. What exactly is that? Because like I didn't.
It was going to be their Comic-Con essentially.
Okay.
It's a bunch of Zoom calls with all the cast members of whoever they could get.
Okay, because like I saw like this advertisement for it and saw DC's name on it and was like, I can skip this.
Yeah, the closest thing that I got that I even care is now Saturday they're releasing the Zack Snyder cut trailer.
All right.
That's about the closest thing to fandom that I even give a crap about right now.
We shall indeed see what comes of that. But yes, unfortunately, a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people who could be hired by new companies if they choose to do so.
And this is going to come off very cold. Did you want to go?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This is going to come off very cold. We had New 52.
Train wreck.
which was good for the first year and then became a train wreck. We had Rebirth, which was good.
Solid for like 3 years.
And now nothing. Every writer that I've ever talked to at a con will tell you it's editorial interference. So all these creators, writers, artists, like posting, "Oh, I'm so sad to see this happen." Why? Because most of the negative connotation that has come from your work came from these people.
Because they're the writers who they were all the yes men. Scott Snyder is a yes man.
Okay, Jeff Lemire.
Jeff Lemire doesn't give a crap because Jeff Lemire just gets to write whatever he wants.
Yes, but
it's probably out of respect for those people, though.
But this is the problem that I have. If you have a failing company, and DC has been failing for a while, and you're going to blow up my Instagram feed because their AT&T is restructuring the company. Yes, I'm so sorry these people lost their jobs. Maybe you weren't cut out to be in that job.
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, look at the difference in IP acquirements between the two companies. You got Disney who bought Marvel. Now, Disney bought Marvel because Marvel, having their own movie studio, outpaced the Disney movies of that summer.
Mm-hmm.
So Disney was like,
"We got you."
They are making, like, they know what they're doing. We're going to buy that company because they're going to do nothing but make us money. The comics were making money. The movies were starting to make money. So they're like, yeah, we're going to buy that company because they make money.
Did Daredevil start before or after the DC or Disney acquirement?
Way after.
Okay.
I mean, the Daredevil didn't start till after the second Avengers movie came out.
Okay.
But no, like, so you had the mentality of Disney who was like, we're gonna buy this company because now we get all this IP and it's gonna make us a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
The theme parks, the merchandising, everything. Then now fast forward to AT&T buying Time Warner or whatever the whole thing is
Warner
called.
Brothers, just call it, yeah.
Well, it's not just Warner Brothers because they own all of Time Warner. Like Time Warner was the parent
owns Warner.
Yeah. So, now I don't know what the mentality was behind buying them, because they're a failing company. They were hemorrhaging money. Like, they couldn't keep anything they were doing solvent. DC has been in trouble for the last 10 years on and off. To the point where they continuously have done reboots to try and get people to keep buying their stuff after everyone tells them, we're not buying your stuff because you're doing stupid crap. Mm-hmm. And every time they start getting better, they start doing stupid crap again and no one wants to buy their stuff anymore. I mean, I don't, like, so now AT&T buys this company and now they're like, crap, we have HBO now, and yeah, we have Warner Brothers, and yes, we have DC, but holy crap, like, there's no leadership. There's nothing here that is, like, we can't leave anyone here in charge because they're just going to continuously run the company into the ground. Like I said, you have, like, Warner Brothers owns DC Comics. Mm-hmm. Okay, Disney owns Marvel Comics. Disney also owns Star Wars. So, hey, Marvel, you're going to be doing all the Star Wars comics now. Logical. I think we talked about this before. Warner Brothers has the huge deal about Harry Potter. DC Comics. Why isn't DC Comics doing a line of Harry Potter comics?
Maybe J.K. Rowling, the spoiled milk soggy ass turf that she is, doesn't want DC Comics to touch her books because she has to do
and that's the thing, she
stuff.
Does still have the final say, right, over
everything Harry Potter related, so she probably doesn't want anyone. She'll only do it if she can map it.
But there's nothing stopping her from overseeing all of that. And and I would almost guarantee you Warner Brothers hasn't even brought the idea to her attention.
Probably because they wouldn't be able to afford it. Yeah, she'll probably charge them too much to do it. Maybe we'll see that in the future. See, what I think AT&T is going to be that company and be like, we can save this. Because of the success of Marvel, everyone is trying to get their hands on a franchise to make a cinematic universe to make money. And you would think the easiest franchise to do that with is the opposite superhero franchise, the only other one that's just as big. So they're the ones that are like, all right, we're going to fire who we don't need, and then we're going to build from the ground up and see what we can do from there. And that's what I think they're trying to do. That's what I think they're going to try and see if they can earn DC the money.
Like,
and if it works, cool. And they make good stories, go ahead. I apologize that it is really tragic that all these people lost their jobs. But we'll see what ends up happening in terms of how the company will remodel, how the books will come out, what the movies will look like.
The worst part about it is the fact that, like, and this is the thing that really sucks, and if it's still true, it's going to suck even more. The fact that DC's been listening to Jim Lee for the last couple of years, because Jim Lee's had this huge push about doing everything digital. Like, that's what he wants to do. Back when they did New 52, that was a huge push that they did, where they were trying to get everyone to buy they were releasing 2 editions of the comics originally. There was a $3.99, there was the $2.99 edition, and then there was the $4.99 edition, not $1 more, $2 more, that was packaged with the digital copy of the book. Where Marvel's answer to that was, we're just going to give you the free copy of the book.
And I think they still do.
I don't know if they do anymore.
Okay.
Not like they used to anyway. I think it's like select issues.
Yeah.
But the thing is that Jim Lee and Dan DiDio and all those guys pushed so hard for this digital initiative, and and Jim Lee, like, he tried so hard to push that. He tried so hard to push, what was that? The New Age of Heroes crap with Sideways. Brimstone and Sideways.
Oh, you're talking about the metals.
Silencer.
Yeah, the characters that were supposed to be spinning out of Dark Knight Metal, except for they didn't even show up in Metal.
Yeah.
They weren't even in the miniseries. Like, I could understand if these were the guys that took down the Batman Who Laughs and they're the ones who saved the world, but they weren't. They weren't even in the damn book.
Oh my god. Do you remember the Dan DiDio Watcher ripoff? What is his name? Oh my god. Because DC did because DC's doing
OMAC, you mean?
No, not OMAC. The Watcher. Like, you know how Marvel has the Watcher?
The one that was in Sideways.
I don't know.
Because they're using him for the DC What If books, whatever they're calling it. Oh my god.
Dark Dimension, or the Dark
Tales of the Dark Multiverse.
Yeah, Tales of the... It's this new guy. It's like vintage something. And somebody asked Scott Snyder if that was going to be in his book, and Scott went, no. Because no one's using this character. He's just a Watcher ripoff.
So here's the thing, and that's like one of those things where it gets me, because I'm like, everything Jim Lee's been doing, and his whole thing was, he said at a convention, the comic book industry was going to die in 5 years. This is like during Rebirth. He's like, well, yeah, the whole industry is going to die in 5 years. And the New Age of Heroes, this is what we're going to do to save the comic book industry. And none of those books made it past like 15 issues, and they all got canceled.
Terrifics made 26.
But again, that was also mostly because people wanted to read about Mr. Terrific and Jeff Lemire. Yes. And also that was the team that had Plastic Man on it.
And from what we know, to add into an earlier statement, the online numbers are kind of garbage for both companies in reality. Yeah. Like, online is not as booming or future as everyone thought it would be.
For the first 10 years of digital, it was growing. And then I think about, like,
Tempest Fugonaut is the character I was thinking of.
And then a couple years back, right around the time of right before Rebirth, like right around the end of New 52, was when they actually, like, digital comics lost 1% for the year. They
Tempest Fugonaut.
Yeah, it's like a combination of the Watcher and the Living Tribunal.
Yeah.
But so, like, digital comics started losing traction. And, like, they were losing shares and everything else, and it was like, okay, so clearly this isn't what people want. Like, it mediated. The people who are going to want digital comics are going to do digital, but the majority of the industry is print media.
Yep.
And DC, for some reason, has been trying like hell to make that not the case.
It's just not the way the industry's going, unfortunately.
No.
Like sometimes stuff progresses and changes, but like this one in and of itself, I think the comic book community is at least I don't want to use conservative as the word, but just in that area in terms of the process of going to a comic book store and picking up books. Like, it's a fun experience.
I don't.
It's not like a toy store where like Amazon took them over and now Toys R Us is out of business.
Marvel even tried doing this digital thing too.
Didn't they try to have their own digital spot?
They did, and then because they just have to keep beating a dead horse, like you had Jessica Jones' Blind Spot, which came out weekly in digital, then it came out in trade in physical format, and then the trade did so well it came out in single issue.
Yeah,
Why?
We like went like this whole backwards way of doing it. Like it went from digital to trade to single issue. It was just weird.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very curious as to what the future holds for DC as a whole. It's definitely not a beginning of the end, but
you know what?
I don't know.
Working Wednesdays, the new book day. That's all I hear is people being friggin' concerned that this is
the beginning
end of DC.
I don't think so.
Like the sky is falling, and I had one person go to me, "Oh, well, I mean, what are you gonna do if DC closes?" Same thing I do every week. Guess what?
At this
DC.
Imagine somebody buying the IP for like all those characters. Like they get split up between like Marvel and Image and Valiant. Like everyone's just
but I think it's one of those things. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think that there's gonna be some version of it one way or another. But no, I think this is like the final straw. This is the last gasp for them. Like AT&T is done. They don't want to deal with stuff that's losing money. Yeah. And if they continue to listen to Jim Lee, they're going to continue to lose money. Because Jim Lee doesn't know how to do. That's why he doesn't have his own company anymore. Granted, he somehow suckered Warner Brothers and DC into buying it, but he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, that was somebody. I'm sorry, you can keep going.
Well, no, but the thing is, like, they've cut 25% of their line of their books. Mm-hmm. Now, given the fact of like what DC was pre-New 52, let's just go pre-New 52, back before they did the abomination that was that. They had so many books. Like they had books that were that like it was hard to have both Marvel and DC on the stands because there were so many books between the two of them.
See, I don't really remember that.
And now you're taking books where you already have half of that, what you had 10 years ago, and now you're cutting 25% more of that off the shelf. For what? Like, what's your plan here? You own so much IP, and you're going to tell me you can't put out books that sell? Like, it's a joke.
I think it's...
Like, Boom Studios, like... one of their books is probably 10 times the quality of half the DC books,
and like, that's probably why they cut it down, because I think it's a regroup move. I don't think it's a gasp for air. Yeah. I mean, it is in a way, just because they're like, oh my God, you're losing so much money. Let's cut down, regroup, see what's necessary. I mean, they're never gonna stop printing action and detective.
Yeah, you're never not gonna have the big three.
Yeah, but like they're gonna regroup, see what they can do. I think they're going to probably have the final say as to what comes out for the time being, as to what like story stuff and what books.
It's one of those funny things though, because for us, like personally, I mean, aside from Batman, Superman's books and Wonder Woman's books are some of our lowest selling titles.
I'm reading Hellblazer.
Which,
that got canceled.
That got canceled.
Oh, fuck.
Hellblazer got canceled.
I also, do you just want to put a pin in what Devon said? Man. I am reading the new creative team for Wonder Woman. Marika, I always pronounce Tamaki.
Yeah.
And the artist from Batman that I can never think of either. Mike Jenkel.
Janin.
The 2 issues of that so far have been some of the best Wonder Woman I've read since either, like, right underneath Greg Rucka and the Finches. Like, I'm going to say that's probably, like, my 3rd favorite writer so far for Wonder Woman.
Is Bendis still on Superman?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But
it's not going to be until he leaves. Something's going to happen with that.
But that's the thing. They've canceled Aquaman. They've canceled Hawkman. They've canceled Suicide Squad.
Titans.
They canceled Young Justice, Teen Titans,
Batgirl.
Oh, wow.
Batgirl,
Hellraiser, yeah.
Hellblazer.
But we're still getting the Dark title or the Blacklist title written by Tom Taylor.
Which was the 3rd one of the big 3 that you were referring to? I said action and detective.
Wonder Woman.
Ah, okay.
And also, ironically enough, Wonder Woman's the only one who's never had 2 titles.
Yes.
She's only ever had Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
That makes sense given the history of just comics. Makes a little sense.
I just like... The thing is, I really do feel that I hope, as Will said, they can, like, we're taking this little sabbatical. We're regrouping, and I don't know, maybe get editors that understand the character. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pawn it all off that it's not the writer or what have you, but, like, when you go up to writer after artist, and they're like, yeah, editorial interference. Gail Simone, one of the most prominent female writers in the industry, left Batgirl because she wanted to write a more fun Barbara Gordon. The editor wouldn't let her. She leaves, and they bring in the Fletchers, who de-age Barbara and put her back in college. And it was a fun run. Why?
I think...
well, that was... Oh, I'm sorry, Will, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying... what I would... let me just backtrack my train of thought here. Yeah. I think... I was watching a podcast about this, about the DC, unfortunate layoffs from the comic pop guys, and they were talking about it would be a really cool idea if you got, like, you know how editor-in-chief, like Dan DiDio, like those positions were temporary for the person there. Like, say, like a president of the United States, like 8 years max. So that you weren't, like, you didn't have this dude that's been in the industry. Yeah, fresh blood. You don't have this dude that's been in the industry for, like, 20 years and is out of ideas telling people, like, no, that's probably stupid. Like, have it be a rotating position.
Well, back that up, though. Back up for a second. Like, the big problem with that, though, is then you have... See, the biggest problem with Dan DiDio is a marketing guy.
That's what I wanted to know.
He was a marketing guy from... Back before he worked for DC, he was a marketing guy at DC who somehow got landed in editor-in-chief. Like, they forced out Paul Levitz, who's probably one of the biggest minds that DC's ever had, and because he didn't want to do certain things to certain characters that some of the writers wanted to do, and then Dan DiDio took over, and then it was just like it was a free for all. People were doing, like, whatever they wanted, and it was a train wreck. And Dan DiDio, for the last 15 years, has tried nonstop to kill or ruin Dick Grayson.
Yeah. But that doesn't, like, devalue the point of, like, it should be a rotating.
No, but it should also be someone who knows comic books.
Obviously, yeah.
Like, you had Dan DiDio who flat out said the reason why he doesn't like Dick and Wally was because, the problem is they make the real heroes too old.
Yeah.
Have you realized that the last 30 years, Dick and Wally are probably as important, if not more important, than Bruce and Barry at this point?
I would even argue...
Okay, you first.
I would argue that Wally is actually more important than Dick.
Yeah.
Being the fact, like, for me, I'm assuming for you as well.
Probably, yeah.
Barry... Yeah, Wally. Wally was my Flash.
Well, Wally...
Yeah.
Well, Wally's also...
I grew up with the Justice League cartoon.
Yeah, I mean, but Wally also is a character who... Straight up, I mean, they've said it on multiple occasions. I was telling Willis earlier. Wally is the most powerful of all the Flashes.
Yeah.
Straight up. But yet, with Dan DiDio there, it's just a character that just continuously gets shit up on.
But that's what prevents that from happening, I think. If you have the position, like if you get someone in there who doesn't really know it that well, they leave in 8 years max. They're gone, and then you get someone who is better who knows them better.
Every time Dan DiDio messed up, they promoted him.
Yeah. I have a question. Being that the four of us in this room, Caleb, and I'm sorry to single you out, you are, like, you come, you hang out, love you for it, but you are technically a customer.
For sure.
Like, and I'm using air quotes on that. You're really more family, but you're a customer.
For sure.
So, as a customer...
Is my family first.
It's true.
Don't jump on that bandwagon.
I'll jump on whatever the hell I want. As a customer, I'm curious for you... And I feel like I should know this because I friggin' touch your pull list every week, you know. But
that
I don't.
sounds personal, by the way.
Go
ahead.
For you as the average consumer, and I'm using you as that, what do you like about DC? Or what don't you? Which one is more greater? Because this is what I want to know, like I said, as you as the common shopper that is in this room.
For sure. What do I like about DC?
You don't have to name something.
I've been reading Hellblazer, and I was enjoying that.
So that's a more obscure DC title.
For sure.
It's part of, they made that part of the Sandman, right? Once again, a question I should know, but...
And then the, obviously which can you even call it DC book, like the Black Hammer stuff?
Oh, no, Black Hammer is Dark Horse.
But then they had the crossover.
You were reading Justice League.
Yeah, but that was all. That had nothing to do. They just let him use the characters,
right? And
because no one from DC had any say in that.
Interesting. So maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much. But there's like when I think of enjoying DC, I think of like years ago enjoying DC.
Because that's what I'm trying to get at.
Reading the Animal Man run and the Swamp Thing crossover and the old Swamp Thing and the old Hellblazer shit. And also, a lot of Batman stuff that I read up until, like, Batman Inc. I was like, what is this shit? But there was that kind of stuff I really enjoyed. I even enjoyed reading about...
Well, the Batman Inc. stuff got really messed up because of New 52.
Which makes sense. I get that.
Well, that was one of those things. Again, editorial at DC has been shit. Okay, you don't do a complete... reboot on a universe
without
and then
having at least a 5-year plan.
Well, no, not even that. Forget the 5-year plan. I'm fine if they threw everything out the window and we're just going off the cuff. What you did wasn't a reboot. You turned around and said, "We're rebooting everything. Everyone goes back to square one." Right. Oh, except for the fact that we have contracts for Green Lantern and Batman out right now. So Grant and Jeff, they're just gonna keep writing their stories. That's not a reboot.
Yeah.
You don't get to have it both ways. You're either rebooting it and we're going from square one and it's all new territory from the get-go, or you don't do the reboot at all. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not how this works. And that's why DC continuously fails at this, because every time they've ever done a universe reset, they never pull the trigger on it all the way. Mm-hmm. They never have. All the way back to Crisis on Infinite Earths.
As a consumer?
No, I'm sorry.
No, go. Finish it.
Well, no. All the way back to Crisis on Infinite Earths. The original Crisis. The whole thing was, this was it. We're getting rid of the multiverse. We're going to have one Earth. No one's going to remember this ever happened. Except for the fact that at the last second they decided not to do it.
That one person's going to remember.
The one character remembered everything. And because he remembered everything, later on, the JSA started to remember that they were from an alternate Earth. They weren't from this Earth. And that all of that stuff started spiraling out of control until you got to Infinite Crisis. Mm-hmm. And Infinite Crisis, the same thing. They couldn't bring themselves to pull the trigger. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, it's going to be another reset, but not really.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to reset their origins, but nothing else changes. Well, how does nothing else change if you reset their origins and their origins are different? Then they're different freaking characters.
I think, and you guys are totally free to disagree with me on this. I've been thinking about this. I think it's time for not a reboot, but a sequel in terms of because of the fact that Dick and Wally and those characters are becoming more and more prominent, I think it's time maybe we experiment with letting them take over the mantles and them take the limelight.
But that's the thing.
Which we've had before like Bruce is dead, now Dick takes over.
Yeah,
but I think it's time for all of them to come forward and let the next generation take it.
But to your point, though, and we've had this discussion before, but that's why they keep doing the resets. Because they don't want to do that.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's a good idea for them to try.
Because with Dan DiDio, again, Dan DiDio is a marketing guy. And marketing, the people in marketing are always like, well, how are we going to sell a Batman toy if Bruce Wayne isn't Batman? Because it's freaking Batman. No one gives a shit who's wearing the mask.
Especially not the kids.
They're coming
because the kids aren't reading the comics anyways.
Does the mask come off? That's my question on the toy.
And who cares? Even if it was Dick and not Bruce, they both have black hair.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to tell with a toy.
For most kids who are, let's be honest, the parents will buy for their children a lot. I mean, as a grown-up, I buy this shit all the time, right? But
yeah.
Kids, like, they are fucking born every day, and so they keep mass-producing things for children to continue to buy into these franchises. They do not care. They do not know.
No.
They have no clue. They just like the colors.
Yeah. Or oh, it's Batman. Oh, it's Spider-Man. Oh, it's the Flash. Like, and here's the other thing. Like
everybody looks the same. All the sidekicks are mini thems. Like it's not like they're gonna look different when they take over.
And aside from Green Lantern, who, like, at this point you lose traction with any of these arguments because you have Wally and Kyle. They're two of the most prominent characters who were successful characters who took over the mantles, and they ran for what? Like, how long was Kyle Green Lantern for? 20 years?
Probably, yeah.
93. So okay, maybe 93 to 2005. So less, like not 20 years, but
somewhere around there. He was there for a while, but not as long as, say, Wally was the Flash.
Yeah,
Wally's probably been longer than Barry at this point, right?
Wally became the Flash right after Crisis. So was that 86, 87?
I think something like that. But that's my point being is that, like, think about how much that would shake up the comic book industry because it's all about being the status quo. Like, at the end of the day, even when Cap in Marvel, for instance, is de-aged, one day they're going to bring him back. Well, one day Tony's going to come back. One day Bruce is going to come back. Think about just the sheer shock.
That's the thing. One of the biggest things and one of the worst things they ever did, again, and I blame this on Jeff Johns and Dan DiDio, because Jeff Johns wanted so badly to write Barry as the Flash, which his Barry book sucked. Okay?
Hot take.
How'd you really feel?
No, Jeff Johns wrote an amazing Wally book. Jeff Johns probably has the best run on Flash of all time. And it was amazing. And he couldn't just let that itch go to write Barry. Just write him in a miniseries or something. No, he had to have Barry as the main Flash. And the book was garbage. No one liked it. That's why, and then, like, the book sales on that just tanked. But the thing was that they had to bring Barry back. Barry had been dead for 25 years. And no one really, it didn't reflect that, because Barry wasn't the Flash anymore, people weren't going to buy the Flash. No, people loved Wally. And people were still buying the Flash. Mm-hmm. And not to say that, like, I don't, like, Barry was a decent character in and of himself, but Wally was a better character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they proved that.
He's a more interesting character.
Yeah, he's fun.
And they just, like, I just don't understand, like, eventually the eventuality is that someone's going to take over for Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is going to become Alfred. Mm-hmm. Do that story.
Or the man in the chair.
Because they did, with him as Terry McGinnis, but
that's what I mean,
yeah. But again, that's Alfred.
Yeah, I guess.
Bruce eventually will become the Alfred character. He's going to be the guy who monitors the situation and takes care of the person who is Batman. Yeah. And the fact that we can't just suck it up and just let Bruce and Selina go.
Yeah.
Let them be together. Let them be married. Let someone else be Batman. Yeah. You've had enough cannon fodder running around with you behind your cape tails. Let one of those poor bastards become Batman.
Yeah. Well, my theory, and this would be my pitch, would be, and I just came up with this latter half of it, is let's go back to that original Earth. The original DC pre-Crisis on Infinite Earths Earth, because it's confirmed that in Watchmen that Earth still exists. It never went away. No matter how many crises there were, that Earth is still around. We just haven't touched it since the 80s.
It's Doomsday Clock.
It's Doomsday Clock, excuse me.
But my thing was, but here's the thing, and this was something they wrote in, and they explained it. Marv Wolfman said it he said it years ago, and I think Mark Waid even confirmed it when he was writing The Flash. And they said the death run, Barry's death run in Crisis on Infinite Earths, is set up in such a way that because he's running through time, he can exit the run and be part of an adventure. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, Barry will always have to go back and finish his death run. You have it. It's there. Fix it. Just have that be the story.
And you can do that.
Like, go back to Crisis on Infinite Earths and be like, have the entire universe collapse and be like, oh, well, it's because Barry needs to die. Sorry, Barry, but you got to go finish this. Like, otherwise, all of reality dies.
And that's what I think would be an interesting thing. If we go back to that original pre-crisis Earth, where are they now? Skip them a few years ahead. Let us fill in the gaps later. I think that'd be a great... It's something like Young Justice does with that 5-year gap or the year gap where they fill it in as the series goes on. You could see, like, why is Dick now Batman? Wally's taken over. Donna's Wonder Woman. Connor's there. He's... Either way,
well,
like
Donna's
I'm just saying, for instance... For instance, just saying, like, whoever's the next in line to take over the mantle, like, those guys are the new Justice League.
He's pointing to Jeff Johns' Teen Titans.
Yeah, for instance, like, not all of them. Obviously, you wouldn't skip over Wally to have Bart be the Flash, but, like, I'm just saying, like, the next generation, like, the new Teen Titans of, like, Dick, and Victor would be in the Justice League, but it makes sense, because he was old enough now. And Gar and Starfire, like, all of them have aged up.
I think at a certain point... Well, I mean, that's the thing. You had...
And I think that'd attract new readers. Like, people would be like, oh, what are they doing now? Like, this is the new stuff. The real new stuff.
Well, but that's the thing, though. They had that. They had that pre-New 52. They had all of that. And they pissed it all away because we need the main characters to be... young again. We need them to be
status
in their 20s.
Quo. It's got to be the status quo because we need the new readers, but the problem is the readers are like, you're just going to reboot it in 5 years. I don't care.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, at least with at least Marvel has adopted, like, they're pretty okay in terms of they've always adopted the idea of the sliding timeline. So the Marvel universe only ever exists the whole time that's been around is about 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
About. And because you don't ever, like, some of the main things about it, you don't ever have to worry about it affecting it. Because, okay, the Fantastic Four, you can slide that. They could go into space at any point now. And they could have gone into space in the year 2005, and it's fine because there's space travel. Because we can get to space. Cap, we just extend how long he's been frozen in the ice. Like, one of the only characters that becomes really tricky with, especially with a sliding timeline, is Magneto.
Mm-hmm. But you can just say mutants age slower than humans.
Which they actually do is that like, his magnetism de-ages him.
Oh. Yeah, well, I thought he does, like, stuff where he, like, goes into a younger body, and there's, like, weird stuff.
There's a lot of that.
There's a few things that has happened to him.
But they've also talked about how he can use his magnetism to tighten the molecules in his body so they age slow. It's something so stupid.
I mean, at least, like, is it him? Which one was it that walked through the Kron crystal? It was both him and Charles, right?
Yeah.
They got their power back, and the artist is like, 10 years off your face.
No, it was only it was Charles. That's how Charles gets his powers back.
How's Eric get his?
High Evolutionary.
Okay.
The High Evolutionary injects him with celestial blood.
That's right. Thank you.
And that's how they gave him back his powers. But yeah, no, it's a lot of, like, they always have the sliding timeline where DC has always just had their characters just age.
Do you need to age? Like, just fucking continue it. Let them be. Like, I don't care. Like, for me, I don't overly care about that. Like, I don't need... Listen, I'm 30 now. There's been 3 Captain Americas, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
Steve, U.S. agent guy, and Falcon.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 I'm aware of.
Bucky.
Oh, sorry, and Bucky.
You suck.
I'm not a big Cap person.
But either way, I think that's what drives a lot of potential readers away, is that no matter how good the story is, they're coming back. No matter what, it's the status quo. And honestly, as a comic book fan, I'm getting tired of it.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, Caleb, for example, all the indie stuff you read, what's one of the reasons why you enjoy reading it?
It's so fucking fun. It's new. And even though it touches on ideas that have already been kind of poked at and prodded and used before, it just feels like it's doing what it wants to because there's no precursor.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, one of that's definitely a big thing is that it takes some of those tropes and it puts new ideas, like new spins on them and everything. But yeah, no, they're able to push the envelope a little bit more because you have these characters who we don't need to worry about. Oh, are we going to be able to have this franchise in 50 years?
Right.
If I'm going to kill this character, I'm going to kill this character.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is some of the nice, great things about some of the indie stuff is it ends.
Yes, I love that.
Like,
oh my God.
It's one of those things where I would be okay if DC's new plan was we're going to tell a story for 10 years, and after the 10 years,
We won't tell it again.
done, reboot. We come up with an ending to the universe, and then we just start all over again.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, my pitch, I would prefer if instead of starting all over again, just going to the next chapter of that universe.
No, and like that, and I agree with that. And I think but I think that's at this point, it's that option's lost. They have set themselves up and rebooted too many times. So many characters are unrecognizable now.
Fair.
That I would just be happier with, hey guys, we're going to tell a story for 10 years. After 10 years, we're going to reboot it. And if you want to stick around, you can. If not, this is going to be a great entry point for all the new people, for the new generation that comes in. But yeah, no, one of my big things with indie books is that I can read something and know that either it's going to end or at least everything that happens in it is gonna matter. Mm-hmm. Like, that was one of the things, like, with all the Valiant stuff right now, and they said it back when they did the Book of Death, when certain characters bit it, they said flat out, they're like, no, this isn't like when we kill a character, it's gonna matter. Like, we're not killing them and bringing them back in like the next miniseries because we can't afford to do that. When we tell stories, they have to matter, or else the readers aren't going to come back. It's not Superman or Spider-Man or Wolverine or Wonder Woman where people are like, oh yeah, like they're the legacy characters, so obviously I'm going to read them. If you fuck up in an indie book, you have a good chance of losing your entire readership with one issue. Mm-hmm. So you can't just screw around. You have to do stuff that matters.
I agree with you. And if you get a book that lasts 10 years or a character run or whatever, it should be because it's fucking great. It should be because people just are, for some reason, it continues to hit this like level, or it resonates with people, and like it just keeps going and going in a fantastic way, and not have it be like the show The Walking Dead, where it's just this thing that becomes and it's been dead for years, but because people keep paying for it and they're watching it almost because they're like too afraid to miss something. Like, you're exhausted and you don't even give a shit while you're watching it, but you're afraid to not be a part of the conversation. Yeah. Which is we shouldn't have to do that with the things we read, because life is short, man. You have no idea. So I want to be tantalized.
Well, it's also like, and it's also
I want to be titillated
and tantalized.
But that's the other thing too, is that and we with the indie stuff too. I also feel like the indie stuff gives you more of something for everyone out there, for everything for someone to read. Whereas, right now Marvel and DC, and I mean we've talked about this before, is that everything they're doing is a response to some new thing that they're trying to pander to. It's not original ideas. It's, like you said, editorial interference, Steve, of, okay, well, we can't, hey guys, we really love the stuff you're doing with Cap, but Sam's gotta be Cap now because people want a black Captain America. Okay, well, is it part of the story, or are you just doing it?
No,
Even like, and here's the thing, I feel like things like that take away from the characters that they already exist. Like, Falcon is a great character. He's a great character by himself. Why are we taking that away from the Falcon and just making him Captain America?
I think that's a case of what I just pitched for DC, though. That was them trying to progress the universe. Now, granted, it didn't take off with the all new, because Marvel readers were like, this isn't Cap, I don't want to touch it. But, that's a natural progression for the character that unfortunately just didn't work out because
But that's the thing, though. That wasn't really... Having read that story as it was coming out, everything that was pointing to who the new Cap was gonna be, it was the kid that Cap raised in that book. He was stuck in a thing called Dimension Z for 20 years, and he raised a kid there, and everything pointed to the fact that this kid was gonna take up the mantle, and all of a sudden they made Sam Wilson Captain America. Now, prior to this, when they did the storyline where Cap died and Bucky took over the mantle, that was a natural progression of the character and the mantle in general, because Bucky was there from the beginning. Mm-hmm. He knew Cap. He knew everything about Cap. They were partners. They're both men out of time.
So do you feel like that was a swing and a miss for Falcon?
I think definitely was a swing and a miss for Falcon. I think it was one of those stories where we did it because we're trying to pay, my biggest problem with Marvel and DC right now is they're trying to pander and grab demographics, and they're not focusing on storytelling or the readers in general. Yeah. And I would love to read a Falcon book. Give me a Falcon book. Give me Sam Wilson, Falcon.
Right.
He's already a character.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, when I saw that book and when I read the first few issues, I didn't continue with it. To me, it was amazing to see that Captain America, who was this representation of being the American superhero, to have it be a black man for the first time, like a minority, to me was just like, this is an incredible...
Second time,
excuse me. So to have that happen, it's like, this is a really cool moment in history. Now, maybe it was a swing and a miss. And there is a great argument to be made for pandering, but then also to have the balance of
Does it cheapen it though for you to, I guess, be robbed of the journey instead of just being thrown into it? Let me reword all of that because it's late and I'm tired.
No, I'm with you. Please tell me.
As Devon described it, now I did not read. I read the first few issues, and the reason why I read it is because I like U.S. Agent. There was no progression for it.
Right.
There wasn't okay, so I, being Stephen Cardella, started this Captain America run with Sam and Steve, buddy. Steve goes bye, but as this series progresses, Sam is doing more Captain America things. Yeah. So my question, I guess, was, does it cheapen it for you that we just threw him in it, opposed to making it more organic and natural and having that fictitious character evolve into the role of not sidekick?
For me, it doesn't. For me, it's an unfortunate thing because it's like, and that's where, to me, maybe the industry is kind of messed up because there aren't these organic stories that are coming out. So it's like, as a minority, it's like you have to, I'll take this.
Okay.
Give me this because at least it's like a representation where you can feel like, wow, even if maybe they're pandering or maybe they're not pandering, you're almost like, oh, it's so good to see a switch, or to see them try. But with that being said, I want the story to like make sense, and I want it to pay off, but we don't often get that.
So for me, one of the better examples of a character that takes up a mantle like that is Jon Stewart, Green Lantern. The fact that you had, I mean, the fact that Jon Stewart, who, especially when you get into the history of his character, this very flawed individual who he did a lot of stuff that he wasn't proud of, but he was still selected.
He fought in the war.
He fought in Nam, and he did a lot of stuff that he wasn't proud of as a soldier. But even then, he was still chosen by the ring to carry this mantle of what it means to be a Green Lantern. And he becoming one of the most, I think actually probably the most prominent black character in DC history. Yeah. And that's one of those things where that just it made sense. The ring chose the next like worthy person to carry this mantle.
I grew up with John as my Green Lantern.
Yeah. Well,
and that was also
Kyle was mine.
Well, I didn't
because I was reading it here.
Yeah, I didn't read comics at the time, and they were gonna do Kyle, but then they looked at their Justice League and they were like,
God.
"Ooh, we gotta."
Even Ms. Marvel.
I was just gonna say
Camilla Khan, Ms. Marvel. It's one of those ones where I'm like, this was a story that made sense, it made sense in the terms like.
That shit was really good.
It's not just we're picking this random girl, this random girl who's Muslim to take up the mantle of Ms. Marvel. Yeah. It was a girl who had powers, who wanted to do something right, whose hero was Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And she's like,
I completely get that.
I want to take this mantle because I want to help people too. I'm going to call myself Ms. Marvel.
And that alone though right there proves that it doesn't need to be this long journey. You have this. What? Please, someone correct me because I read it. I just don't remember. Was she in high school or middle school when she starts? Thank you. So you have this high schooler who wants to do good. Like for me, that was not quick, but like that was a bam. That was organic. It was natural. She slides right into that role. While still being young and naive and optimistic about what it means to be a hero.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like I don't disagree with any of that. I think you guys are right on hitting the mark with that stuff. But it's something different.
I gotta.
But to see a quintessential American character to have this like shift where Cap is passing it to him. He's offering this mantle to him. Does it pay off? And maybe not in story, but maybe it pays off to a small child who comes in and doesn't see a lot of faces on at that moment.
Well, the downside, if I could just, the downside of it in all reality is that the higher ups in maybe even further past editorial, they don't care.
For sure.
It's a bunch of rich white dudes that want more money. And they want to get the money from the black community, the LGBTQ community. So they'll go, turn this character gay.
Bobby gay?
Make Bobby gay.
No. I was legit just going to say, this gay bastard did not give them his money when Bobby was gay.
But
I did not support that thing.
But when you have... Wait, hold on. But when you have the right writer behind it, you can make it work. A more direct comparison to the Sam situation in the comics is watching Sam in the movie. I mean, that for me personally and a lot of other people is a great payoff, and it makes sense that Sam got the shield.
Word.
It makes sense. And I mean, the Russo brothers have explained it. You can argue it all you want that you think it's Bucky, but for me, it makes sense that it's Sam. He's mentally sound. He's there. He's been in the trenches. He's been by Cap's side already. Like, it makes sense, and it's a better payoff, and it is a black man getting the shield, and we're going to see it in the movies, and he's going to get a TV show, he's going to be by Bucky's side, it's going to be great, but like, that is a better comparison, I think, and a better trade-off than what happened in the comics, probably, but I didn't read it.
I still agree.
In the movie world of it, I will agree with this on one note. I want to see a progression because I don't overly feel that we gave Sam enough to do in the movie
I want to
world.
see more of Sam, and I think that's what we're going to get.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's what the series is going to be, because it's called Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Because I don't feel that Sam is a fully fleshed out character. Winter Soldier, he is there. I actually really like him in Winter Soldier. Now, this is going to sound awful. He is in Civil War? Because I don't remember him in Civil War.
He's in it for like 2 seconds.
Okay, so there's that.
Him and Bucky fight Peter for a while.
Yeah, but again, I don't agree with you about making sense for Sam, because Sam really doesn't do anything in the movies.
Well, that's why
except for in Winter Soldier, where he's just like, well, you're Captain America.
No,
I'm gonna die for you, and I'm like,
this is
really?
No, I mean, they did have to rush his friendship with them so that it would make sense. But once they are friends, I mean, he's by Cap's side. He even goes out of the law. They become criminals together. They, fight side by side against all that stuff. He joins them in Civil War. He's everything, and he's just more of a mentally sound person to take up the
was what you said before. This is why I want to see Sam in, like, if it's done properly, the TV show could be this really cool bridge that gives us that organic flow.
And that's what it's supposed to be.
It can focus around Sam. It can focus around Sam, Bucky. We're getting... Why can't I think of U.S. Agent's name?
But we are getting U.S. Agent.
We're getting the guy that plays U.S. Agent. So it could focus around the growth of Sam as Captain America. So that way, when the next time we see him on the movie, it's like, oh, well, here is my clear ABC transformation.
Yeah.
Here's my watchable...
I mean, when we see him in the trailer, he's training. And he doesn't, from what it looks like from the shot we see him, he doesn't look happy. Trailer? Like, he looks like he's like, I'm not enjoying this. I don't think I'm ready.
Yeah.
So we're going to see him go through that journey of finally being, like, confident and saying, like, I'm the new Captain America. And Bucky is like, yeah.
I find it comical, no pun intended, and this is going to be another pun, that comic books have forgotten the hero's journey. That we are so invested in deconstructing the hero, removing the hero's journey, pandering, even if you will, to what is going on in the world, that we're not getting heroic moments.
No.
X-Men on Krakoa. There's nothing heroic about that to me. There's nothing like...
What is even going on?
I think the X-Men represented every downtrodden being that ever existed.
Yeah.
Minority, pick and choose, all that.
When I read it,
this doesn't feel like that.
Lens a lot.
This doesn't feel like that. There's nothing on this that feels like that.
Because they lost the motivation and they lost the idea.
Yeah.
The only thing that can, for myself, and I don't speak for all minorities or BIPOCs, but is to think of when a group is beat down, no matter how hard they try, it's like, maybe after a while you're like, well, fuck everybody else. I'm going to go get my own island. And we will go back to Africa. How about that? And we will, which is like, I'm just saying, like, I will go back to,
one of the things that made X-Men so groundbreaking at the time was the fact that it not only did it echo the racism of the day, but it also showed that really anything different, everyone will ostracize. And especially when you look at some of the backgrounds of certain characters, which is, we had this discussion about the idea of Rogue being cast as a black woman in the movies if they wanted to go that route, and a lot of people, we had the argument of, everyone was like, oh well, I don't think that would work, that's kind of dumb, it's like rogues, or I was like, but for me, especially for her being Southern, especially if like they switch it to her like growing up in Louisiana and stuff, for her not only to be a mutant and being ostracized, but then to also be ostracized by the black community in that area because she's a mutant, that's something you wouldn't see. And I think it's important to note that anything different all people are scared of.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that X-Men's always brought to the table is that you can sit there and you can say, you could say this about white people or black people or Hispanic people. It's like, but at the end of the day, in the Marvel universe, the mutants are. It doesn't matter who you are. Right. Your own people will ostracize you because you're a mutant, and that's scary when you think of the solidarity, and it's just one thing that makes you different. Any community will exile you, and I think that's one of the things that's always been important about the X-Men. But you don't get that now because now they've turned around and like, well, we're mutants and we're the future. Yep. Screw you. Right. And it's like, and it's not about the communities coming together.
I'm looking forward to the resolution. I see it from that point of like the going back to where they're from and everything like that. Like that does make sense. I don't think they've played it to that as much as they should be playing to that.
And that's me like really projecting too. And and also like what you're talking about, you're so right. And then, I just have like my lens sometimes that comes through, and it's just like I don't even want to look at it through a lens, and all of a sudden I'm like dang, that makes me think about that.
And one of my things too, for me personally, like, and this is just kind of like just from again being part Asian for myself, one of the big things for me is I've always had this thing where no, I don't want an Asian Captain America.
Sure.
I want a straight up badass Asian character like Shang-Chi. Right. I don't want Iron Fist to be Asian because Iron Fist isn't Asian. Yeah. Give me a Shang-Chi show or a Shang-Chi movie, which they're doing. And that's the thing. Like, I've always felt like I don't want some character because they're a legacy character, because they're a popular character, just become something else because we're trying to grab a demographic. Right. I want a character who, like, I want a character for the gay community like North Star. North Star was gay. He's always been gay.
Right.
And he got married in the comics, and that was a big thing. And it's like, I would rather the character be who they are already rather than
turning.
Let's try and get this demographic reading this character. And I get what you're saying, whereas hey, it's Captain America and that's an important thing where, we're gonna bring this in.
Right.
But I don't know if, especially the way that they handle it, is not the right way.
It's hard because at one point, one part of me is like, it's so dope to see that. Yeah. But then the other part of me is like, would we say anything if it was just another different white guy? We wouldn't.
No.
We would, and so it's very easy to look at it and be like, that's just pandering. Or to look at it, but it's like, when you step back and then we start to talk about it like that, it's like, that's, holy shit, like, because that's a black person stepping into this role, like it really has to be questioned. But it's hard because it's like
it has to be written well. It has to be a natural progression.
And here's
but
the
I'm
other
not
thing
against what you're saying either.
That I want to get into, even with mutants. My first part is just quick and simple. Yeah. I have no problem about you changing anything on someone. You want to make Rogue a woman of color? Cool. The costuming better be there. That's my that is where I get in there, where I get annoyed. Like, MJ with the new Spider-Man, she does not have red hair. Yeah. When I think of Mary Jane, that is the first thing I think of is the red hair,
right?
And that baffles the hell out of me that you couldn't give her red hair. Ariel with the new Little Mermaid. I think they've already confirmed she's gonna have red hair. When I think of Ariel,
she has red hair.
I think of red hair.
Right.
With X-Men, though, I want to just also point out
she's had it because they did that live musical. Yeah. She was black in that, but she had red hair and the green tail.
I want to point out and it's not even Jace. This is how tired I am. Race, gender, sexual preference. Look at what X-Men did in the 90s. 93 Legacy Virus debuts. At the height of, or at the end of the AIDS crisis.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
And this is what's bothering me about Hickman's X-Men is it's not representing anything.
See, so
there's a huge movement going on right now. Why are we not touching this in the book that's supposed to be there?
Well, that's
organic.
Well, if I could just say quickly, the whole thing, like, it's so strange because I'm with you, but then at the same time, it's like, is that pandering?
Well, no. But
If it's organic, I don't think
wait. But here you go.
But that's me.
But this is the point where we lose the storytelling aspect.
Yeah.
This is why I don't think these guys who are the great storytellers at Marvel right now are storytellers. Because the thing is that you can do stories like the X-Men, who were hated and feared because they were different, which echoed the entire civil rights movement of the 60s and 70s. And you did it in a way where you didn't pick up an X-Men book going, oh, wow, it's the civil rights movement. No, you read that book and you went, oh, crap. This is kind of like what's going on now. Like, there's ways to do it. The legacy virus being basically AIDS. Like, that is clever. That is, oh man, this is like, holy crap, like this is what's going on now. I don't think the writer now, today, has the caliber of creativity to be like, okay, how can we work in the things that are happening now in a way that isn't going to upset all the readers or some of the readers.
Also prove us wrong. That's the thing with that.
Yeah.
Get a writer who can do it, who lives that story.
The other thing, go ahead, please.
No.
I was just thinking on that too. Like, that's late as fuck.
I know we're off.
God.
I know we're almost 2.5 hours in, man. We gotta wrap this up real quick.
When I re-listen to all of this, I just want to know. I will personally backhand the person that brought this up.
Which part?
The one that spiraled into this very lovely conversation. And I don't mean that in any sort of rude way. Whichever person started it,
I don't even know
I'm going to get backhanded.
Right. We were talking about how much of a train wreck DC was.
Yeah, we morphed into something good.
That's like the...
What were you saying?
I think it's gone.
Okay. The one thing, even here's my last organic piece.
Yeah.
New Mutants.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Go ahead, yes.
You have a Native American woman. Scottish or Irish? I always get Wolfsbane wrong.
Right,
Scottish.
Right. You have... The one is from Mexico or Spain. I don't remember which, because like I said, my brain is gone. The Asian or... What is Karma? I know, right? Like my brain is...
Yeah,
but you have this amazing team put together of literally every nationality of the rainbow.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
And personally, I didn't even piece it together until literally seeing it on screen on the trailer.
Yeah.
That this is what this was.
Well,
yeah.
And
I remembered my thing.
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
Please say it, because we're all dying.
My thing I was thinking about was just to comment about the, like, being creative enough to, like, hide these things underneath there and have that discovery moment, which is incredible when they do that, and I love it. But I wonder sometimes if, like, a writer or even an artist is like, you know what, I don't want to have to hide this. But I know, like, it doesn't always pay off in story, and there's a lot of pandering that does happen. But I don't want to take away from, like, the importance of, like, sometimes just communicating something. And having an upfront conversation with somebody where you lay all your cards out and you're like, yes, we're having fun with X-Men, but also I'm a real person who lives in this world that is seeing things, and I feel like I don't want to hide this undertone.
The Champions Gun Violence issue.
Wasn't even
whatever
it is, it is, like the different things that come through our comics or songs or any kind of media. Sometimes it's like, shit, it goes left, or people get mad. I think sometimes people should get mad. Like, we should be like, I don't like this, and that's okay, because then that's more conversation around a comic book, especially if it has to do with justice in our world or rights or whatever. And we don't need to see that all the time. And unfortunately, a lot of times it does fucking go so far left that, like, people are like, what? You're just pandering and trying to get that money. But I just don't want it to, like, be covered, because people should still be able to write like that for either side. No,
and the thing is, I think the important thing about that is that, I feel like part of the reason, like, and I think that's part of the reason why, like, you have the indie comic medium, where you can just do what you're gonna do. Whereas, when you have long-standing things like Marvel and DC, it's one of those things where I read things and I see enough of the real world every day.
Do you feel like don't derail my character and my incredible storyline to try to like prove a point or teach something? Does it kind of feel like that a little bit? Or?
I feel like, again, it's not even about trying to teach anything or show a message. I'm fine with that. I want it done in a way where it's still like you still see it.
You want escapism,
but it's not being like, it's not the same stuff I'm seeing every single day. Like, again, legacy virus. Like the AIDS epidemic was horrible. If you just did comics where people were dying off from AIDS, people don't want to read that. People don't want to be depressed. They want some type of... The legacy virus was fantastical enough that it likened that and it brought some of that stuff to the table, but you were also like, hey, we reality. Can, like, there's a way to beat this. There's hope.
I hear you.
You know, whereas, like, go ahead, Will.
I think it all comes to a matter of preference in terms of the writer and then the reader as to how much they want to hide behind, like the sci-fi aspect of the storytelling, hiding like the AIDS virus under the legacy virus, or just using AIDS. It's all up to what the writer will do, like how cleverly they want to hide it or how direct they want to be with their storytelling, because sometimes, especially when you get writers who have lived through those scenarios, they want to be direct because they want to tell that message, they want to tell that story. Other writers who don't usually want to like kind of ease the way into that, which is like, it's entirely what like Star Trek is about. Like I hate, and I'm gonna make this quick because I don't want to get onto a Star Trek thing. I hate the stupid critique where everyone's like, modern Star Trek is too woke because it talks about modern issues. That's the point of the show, you fucking goober. You look like an idiot. Like, so it's just like it gets hide behind the like. I like it when stuff is like changed to hide behind the story, but also like people have a right to talk about like direct things. Yeah, you want to mirror, and there's plenty of medium to go to escape from the real world. But you also have writers who get control of these stories that want to tell that story, and it's their right. They've been appointed to do so. I think is it's all kind of up to the writer and what. Unfortunately, the editorial, who are completely at this point disassociated themselves from the man, the society, the common man, excuse me, like they don't care, like whatever sells.
To your point, though, Will, I mean, and again, you can do those things, and you can do it in a fantastical world. Magneto.
Yeah.
Perfect example. I mean, the whole of the civil rights movement is what the X-Men books was about, but when you started bringing the other level of it with Magneto, you were able to shed light on actual things about the Holocaust and things that were going on there, and like that was an organic way to do it because you now had this guy who had this reasoning why he was so hardcore against anyone who was going to stand against a mutant, because I had people. He lived in a world where they hardcore stood against the fact that he was Jewish. So for him now, everyone who it doesn't like, he's so separated. Like he's already so separated from mankind because he saw the worst of mankind, and to him, being a mutant helps him like not even have to like deal with that pain on a day-to-day basis. But now he also has a cause that he can get behind because now you're doing it to who he is now.
And I think that definitely. I'm sorry. Continue.
No. I just that's one of the things, and I think there's so many different ways to do it, and there's so many great ways to have these conversations and do these things in stories. But you also have to, as a writer and as someone who's writing these characters. You know, writing independent and writing your own stuff is one thing, and you know, doing those stories, I'm all for it. But at a certain point, the weekly comic book, you know,
the reason why I'm laughing is just because it sounds like you're saying, "Not in my comics."
I was wondering like where you were laughing at first.
That's it's that.
No, I think it's the, you know, in general, the general audience idea is, I'm coming in to pick up Amazing Spider-Man because I want to see Spider-Man fight Doc Ock.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And there's plenty of books like that. I mean,
there's a shit ton of books like that.
Yeah, no, but I also think that there's vehicles and there's different ways to tell the stories in a way that you're not going to lose readership for a book.
It's hard too, though. Like as we're having this conversation, I think about like Vita, and I think about a lot of the stuff that's going on in the background and how so many comic book readers, because a person is like, queer or maybe a different nationality or race or creed or whatever, like those are immediate reasons why somebody is like completely destroying something. And that's not even what you're saying, but you see a lot of this stuff like in the media, and it's like so much of it, there's just so much at stake for an individual writing and talking about these things and wanting to present a form of media that's like through your voice, and also wanting to like meet somebody's need and not want to destroy a character, and there's a lot on the line there.
Yeah, you run the risk of having a bunch of people being like, you're like, no matter how you write it, somebody will be like, you're just pandering, or you're just trying to shove this social issue down my throat, and I want to see this in my comic.
But don't you think your character should rise above the social issue?
If possible.
So what I mean by that is look at Midnighter and Apollo. They are easily one of the first gay couples in comic books. Now, granted, indie book, but made their way over to DC, made their way over to DC continuity mainstream. The fact that Midnighter, in his first miniseries under DC, is not with Apollo, he is a gay man, figuring out what it means to be a gay man, and it's only done in like 2 or 3 pages, and then he goes off on his mission and does his life. Like, Midnighter isn't defined by his sexuality, he just happens to be gay. Like, for me, as a gay man, I like that. Like, that's where I come from. Now, granted, him and Apollo are living happily ever after, boyking in shacks or whatever they're doing. But, at what point does me being a hero come with, or force me to have a label, a social issue, a this or that? Why can't I just be, or why can't the character just be what the character is?
Right.
And still do the job.
I think it's just because of, again, going back to the pressure.
Yeah, no, I'm totally
wanting to do so much with like, this is my only moment, and I want to talk about these issues. And I'm not saying that this stuff, like, this is the right way to do everything, but it's.
That's just like
I also feel one of my big things, and I was talking to Steve about this, and I was talking to Will about this earlier.
This is never gonna end. I'm sorry.
No, this is.
We all keep going. One more thing.
Okay, no. All right, this is gonna be the wrap. This is gonna be straight up. So you guys can all put your piece in after I say this, and then this is it, and then we'll do our sign off. But one of my big things is that one thing I didn't realize. I've been real into the Spawn stuff, and I've always liked Spawn, and it's one of these things where recently the Spawn book hit 300 issues. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records. It's one of the longest. It's the longest running creator comic book out there. Something that you don't really realize when you think about Spawn. Spawn's black.
I think about it all the time.
No, but here's the thing: Spawn's black, and Spawn is the longest running monthly comic with a black lead.
What does his face look like? Mangled as fuck.
No, not anymore.
I'm just kidding.
You were right. No, you were right.
But the thing is,
they
like,
fixed it.
but Al Simmons. So
awesome. I'm sorry. That was totally just me.
That was really awful to me. I'm like, they fixed it.
But no, but like really, like, but seriously, like, think about this though.
Look black anymore.
But look at like Luke Cage. Look at Black Panther. Characters that have been around since the 70s, who haven't even broken 200 issues, even with all the renumbering and all the legacy issues and everything that we're trying to incorporate to get to that anniversary issue now. Jon Stewart hasn't had his own book. Black Lightning has only had so many issues.
Right.
You have a character who he's a black lead of a title
that came out in the 90s.
That came
focused on that.
And not only that, not only is it the longest running black lead title out there, it's a Guinness Book World Record holding title now. Yeah. And my thing is that it's one of those things where he's telling stories about Spawn, about Al Simmons doing what he's gonna go do, about the people he's fighting, about the things that are happening, and they do talk about social issues in the book, but the thing that I feel like Marvel missteps with, and the same thing that DC missteps with, is that their characters of color, they try to focus too much on that aspect of it. They don't let the character just be their own character. Like Black Panther, every storyline that I read for Black Panther is about Wakanda and about the fact that he's from Africa and the fact that he's black and that he's one of the only black Avengers members. And they focus so much on it. They don't just tell stories about him going to do stuff because he has the ability to do it.
Right. And this is recent Black Panther?
Yes.
So it could be because he's finally being written by a black man.
No, because he was written by a black man in the early 2000s by Christopher Priest.
But I don't know. And does he talk about being from Africa in that?
The whole book
actually takes place in Africa.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. So he did it too.
Priest, yeah.
So then those two men are talking from like their, not even their standpoint, because I don't even want to say that, but maybe it bleeds through more than when a white man writes a black character. Like it makes sense to me that there would be more of a freedom there. And I'm not saying that all black or all Latino or all Asian or that they should only be written by, their race. But it's just possible that maybe more can come out through that because there's more of a direct connection to that character.
No, and again, like I'm not saying that shouldn't be what it is. It's just that, I think part of the reason why after a while why you don't have why these books don't last as long and why they eventually get to a point where the readership drops off is because you don't have that general audience feel of the book anymore. And again, I'm not saying anything against anything like that, but I think even back in the day when you had the white writers writing Black Panther or Blade or Black Lightning or whoever, I think even that they tried so hard to do this because this is what we think everyone wants to read. No. And really it's like the important thing is, hey, I'm reading Black Panther and he's black and he's doing superhero stuff and that's awesome. And yes, let's talk about the social issues and do stories where we do social issues. And that's one of the important things, like with Spawn. They actually do a whole issue where he fights the Ku Klux Klan.
And it's actually like an arc because he's down south.
Yeah, and it's
he's also hella depowered.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, and I think it's when you tell stories with these characters and you just kind of let the characters have their own voice and you kind of like it's kind of like it's a thing a lot of writers say is that at a certain point the characters write themselves. And the more you try and force the character in whatever direction you want, rather than kind of letting the story write itself, it hurts the story. And that's why sometimes long-running series, you have writers who they try to keep forcing the characters in a certain way, even though Stephen King said it. He's like, I started a story with the character going in one direction, and all of a sudden he's the hero of the story. Yeah. And I think to me that's one of the things, and that's one of the great things about the Spawn characters that. It's general enough, but you don't think about it really in terms of, wow, almost every main character in the Spawn comic is a person of color.
Right.
And then when you get those issues where they deal with some of the social issues, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And it's just it's done so well. And I feel like if more characters were written that way, I feel like we would have a lot more books that ran as long as this. Like the fact that Black Panther isn't on issue 500 by now is astounding. It's astounding to me. You know, that Spawn of all books holds that record. And it's strange, and I don't know. Like maybe, you know, I don't know what it is that Todd McFarlane does to write those characters that it just resonates with people. That it's a book that people still want to keep getting. You know, but I think like at a certain point, like for some reason, like because I read the Christopher Priest run. I've read other runs of Black Panther. Jon Stewart's one of my favorite characters from Green Lantern. I would love a Jon Stewart book, but how long till we stop telling, you know, Jon Stewart being a hero stories and we go down this whole rabbit hole of the social issues and everything else, and then we become a very tunnel vision kind of book.
I think it takes a clever writer. And when I think of the clever writers in the social issues in the last few years, one of them that instantly comes to my mind is Greg Rucka, who wrote, now granted, everything I say at this point is just gay. Like, that's the only thing I have to say. Because it's quote-unquote my story. Greg Rucka created Batwoman, who was removed from the army because of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, because she's a lesbian. That doesn't define her. Mm-hmm. Like, it's an event of her past that has now forced her to go, maybe I need to do something else with my life. Leah Williams to a minor degree, because once again, she's one of the few writers that writes a gay Bobby that I'm like, wow, I don't want to punch his teeth in. Like, Leah Williams, love her. Everyone should be reading X Factor. Just throwing that out there. You know, like, there are ways I feel that you can do this, and also the two writers that I wrote, Greg Rucka is a hetero male. Mm. Leah Williams, I don't overly know what she identifies as. All I know is she's a single mother. Because she's always posting a photo of her kid.
Yeah. So my thing is, I hope that people could continue to write the stories the way that they want to. I think that it should be written by all different types of people. It can be BIPOC person in any type of story that doesn't have to focus on who they are racially at all, and can still be an incredible story that pieces them in like you talk about. But then I think about specifically speaking about that Black Panther that came out a couple years ago by Coates, and just how, like, you know, maybe it was a miss for you, but it was huge for a lot of other people in the Black and Latino community.
Oh, I'm saying it's not a miss. I think it's a good run on Black Panther.
But I'll say this: from when you were talking about it, it just kind of felt like it was a little bit too much after a while, and I get that. But you know, maybe it wasn't for the masses, and that maybe that's why the book doesn't continue in certain ways or whatever. But like, we have to continue to still have those sometimes. To get people who feel like there's nothing else that I'm seeing right now that's cool like that in comics, and then that comes out and it speaks to a generation in different ways that gets them reading all different types of comics. And I would love for there to be a great balance of it.
What the hell?
You know, so that there's both. That's the computer telling us to shut the hell up. But that's just my piece with it.
No, that's all. I get where you're coming from. Will? She's like,
I'll just say, you know, when it comes down to it, you know, who am I to say how you should write your book? Yeah. If you get control of this, if it's not something that I can relate to, you know, I've made complaints in the past about watching Black Lightning, which I think is a fine television show, but it gets to the point where it becomes unrelatable for me because I don't live in that situation where it constantly tells you about the Black experience. But I understand why people want to put these social issues in there. They're not gone. I mean, Charlottesville was like, what, 4 or 5 years ago? That was scary as shit. Like, that's some scary ass stuff that still exists today. I mean, what I'm saying is that, like, you can choose how to write these social issues if you want, or how you want, or even if you want to put it in there. I mean, I don't think, you know, it's really your place if you're writing Black Panther as an Asian guy to really show what the racism that Black Panther faces every day. Like, you know, like that'd be a weird thing to do just for me personally. But like at the end of the day, you know, there are social issues, and if you want to address them in your book, do it as you see fit, and the readers will tell you whether it was wonderful or too in their face, as some might say, or, you know, cleverly incorporated. But at the end of the day, you know, there's social issues that some people deal with, others don't, and those that do deal with it want to tell you about it, or want to tell you about stories that other people have to face. It's all a matter of opinion on the individual level of the reader, but at the end of the day, it's up to the writer.
Artist subjective.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we threw out a lot of opinions there tonight,
Jesus.
everybody. So comment, let us know what you think, and we will be back sometime eventually when, you know, all of us aren't zombies.
I'm always a zombie. I'm dead on the inside.
Well, this is Devon.
Will?
This is Caleb.
Reagan McNeil. I couldn't think of what I said.
All right, good night, everybody.
Good night.